I hope you had a chance to wet your whistle during that break. We got Uber, we got a Blue ZP, and we've got at least 2 games coming your way. It's the grand finals for North America. Thanks to Intel, we got another $1,000 up for grabs. It's the Sneaky Golems, our returning champions, taking on melee creeps. And Uber, there's some new lore brewing with Trolli coming into the mix. We had a $10,000 tournament just 2 weeks ago. What happened in North America?
Yeah, look, I mean, new old lore, I guess. I mean, melee creeps swept through the entire process without dropping a game. So they, cemented, I think, that sort of kind of dominance that you would expect from them. Sneaky Golems, run through. They made obviously the grand final as well, was not quite as smooth. They did drop a game to a roster called Love Yoshi, which had like Lomain, Vegas, Ida, like Matt, Leffa, like generally very good players. But look, Trolli was awesome, a fantastic tournament, but melee creeps obviously cemented their claim to being the best team in NA. Now they've just got to, take care of business here and deal with Sneaky Golem, who honestly had their measure, here on the night shift recently.
Chef ZP, if you were cooking for Mrs. Abrams, what would you make her?
Ooh, what would I make Mrs. Abrams right now? I was looking at this pasta dish on YouTube last night where basically you don't put in pasta sauce directly. You like lightly toast the pasta sauce and then mix in like water and broth basically and bring it up that way. And, it gives you like a roasted flavor to the pasta that's really, really good. I think like the base is like with celery, carrots, and onions that you chop up. It was something like that. It looked really, really good.
I didn't expect such a serious answer.
Right, that's not...
Were you just like watching that on YouTube? Are you a chef type, bro?
I enjoy doing a little bit of cooking in my spare time, yes.
Oh, damn. I did not know. Yep. Damn, bro. Okay, you and Pocket need to get together for the best steak night we've ever had. Make it happen.
True.
Facts. All right, I'm going to talk into my little fan shell here. Sneaky Golems! It's League, Hydration, Rocker, AVG, Goober, and Rokane. Rokane is going to try and hope that he gets a Mirage. If not, AVG will be playing him. And then, of course, you got Hydration. He could play a Warden. Will League play this lady? Probably not. Will Rocker play a Shiv? Maybe. Does a Shiv get through an NA for Sneaky Golem Uber?
Potentially. Look, I mean, we're seeing Shiv being left open now. Last game is not a good indicator of Shiv's strength right now, but we know he's still extremely good. Obviously an amazing pair, but, alongside with a Kelvin, but, we see him normally like one half of that duo being picked up. So should get through here unless the second pick team just does not want a bar of it.
ZP, who underperformed in the Trolli tournament that needs to turn it up today?
Who underperformed in the Trolli tournament? I mean, part of it, I would say, is that whoever was doing the draft. I think Sneaky Golem got kind of caught off guard. They didn't do their best look at mitigating the bebop when it did get through or just stopping it from getting through entirely. But they've made some big adjustments. And, I mean, they do have a lot of hero depth on their roster, too. I mean, yeah, Rocker, I think, would like to play the Shiv if it's available. It's still one of his signature heroes. But also, dude can still pull out one of the best GTs we've seen if necessary. And Goober, I mean, yeah, it's great when Goober gets to play Viscous, but Goober also can play the Bebop. So in terms of picks and bans, they don't even have to ban the Bebop. Just give it to Goober, and you get a really good Bebop and denied from John in turn. So you got options for Sneaky Golem.
I wonder if the Viscous comes through, because we just saw Goober calling out the right-click damage and how it's kind of doubled up at the moment. Will Viscous be gentlemen's? Will it be banned out? We'll find out as we have your squads ready. Let's reveal team number 2, your challengers this week. They've already banked $5,000 with their win. It's John Scout Ido filling in for Lord NM. He is the new 6th. We have DMB, Fishcake, and Saya. Uber, who's got the highest ceiling? Who do you think has the flashiest highlights on this team?
I mean, I know for sure, but I do not want people to be ignoring the John and Saya duo. These guys are pretty insane. Saya's an extremely cerebral player from what we understand. Great macro caller, and also in the drafts is pretty instrumental to this team. To the extent that John's like, yeah, we just do what he says. We don't really question it. So I think that he's a great player. John always is going to give us something fun. And hey, look, if Bebop gets banned out, there's always a holiday. And John was looking really sick on that pick as well. Bro's got a big brain. He's an engineer in his day job. You know what I mean? The guy, well, he's a draftsman, but I consider that close to being an engineer myself. So he knows what he's about. I think this team is sick, and they should be reclaiming the throne here, because getting 2-0'd by Sneaky Golem in our last night shift was a tough one for them to bear, but they look like they've drastically improved lately.
We just saw the paradox pop off for Taz. Do you expect that to be in play for NA? Sneaky Golem versus Melee Creeps. You can see the history. It's been Sneaky Golem's way. That was up until the third night shift, the Trolli Open NA Grand Finals, where it was a 2-0 for the Creeps. Sneaky Golem get round 11 of the night shift. Here we are in round 12. So they've already gotten a little bit of revenge. Now you're looking to haymaker him with another 2-0. Can you do it this time around?
Yeah, I'm thinking about reverse order. That's weird. I had the finals of shift 11 before night shift, the Trolli Open. So there you have it. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think Melee Creeps has a good chance of reversing it here. But one of the questions you're asking about, hey, Paradox. Yeah, Paradox is going to be highly valued by both teams. I mean, even going back to the Rocker hero pool question, right? In the last 2 weeks, Rocker has actually been on Paradox more than any other hero. So I kind of expect from the last draft and what we've seen recently, Paradox is probably going to be the first pick unless there's some Bebop denial shenanigans. Now, good thing here for Melee Creeps is that by them choosing first pick, it makes it a lot harder for Sneaky Golem to open up with a Bebop ban. They're going to feel a lot more compelled to ban the Kelvin. If they ban the Kelvin, Melee Creeps gets Bebop. So we'll see where this one goes.
Ooh, I kind of think the tie is a good look on ZP. Like, Kaplan made the best decision of his life with that haircut.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
ZP
Jason looks hot
the best
now.
glow up. Right?
No, I mean, ZP's, this was a good, I've never seen ZP with an undone top button, though. He's always like, the guy, when I first started casting like Overwatch with him, he was like pocket square, tie, like everything to the 9. So like, it's honestly kind of jarring seeing him with the undone top button, but it works for him. It's like, you know, off duty from the 9-9.
Investigator.
You know? Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, frazzled, jaded, you know what I mean? Starting to become like a villain in his own right as he realizes that humanity is doomed and will always be like ne'er-do-wells amongst them.
But alcohol is I've been an esports caster for 10 years now. You tell me that's like gonna grade on you? Of course, like the years add up.
I will never be the same, brother. Here's that Kelvin. Oh, sheesh.
Shiv on the other side?
You might have to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to give both up. That would be pretty terrifying. It obviously creates a lane that like can't lose, which is, you know, pretty powerful, especially at this level. Shiv got a very weird change. It's like he can't knock himself back as much with his alt fire, so his mobility is nerfed a little bit, which is a shame because I liked that. Like good Shivs, I could get around the map a little bit quicker with the right click. But Paradox is always a first pick for Sneaky Golem. We've seen this pattern from them very frequently, so they can still get the Shiv here if they need it.
Interesting thing to me, hero pool wise, is that usually the Paradox player has been Rocker, and also usually their Shiv player has been Rocker. Yeah. You don't have two Rockers to actually play both of these, so you're going to get a little bit of a flex here, and we'll see who it is that's going to be doing the flexing.
They don't have two rocks to bang together, but they do have a light sprinkle of hydration. You know what I mean? They've got obviously some super flex players on this team, so that's an option. Pocket here will come in alongside the Kelvin. Just a supercharging. Who's the what?
Viscous. Honestly, do Viscous. Don't let Goober play Viscous. I think you get sticky with it. I think you grab your costume that you've discarded right now, you put it right there on the screen. That's what I think you do.
That honestly would be surprising, I think. Holiday. I think you want to lock this up. You don't have the Bebop, right? You want to put John in a position to succeed, so that makes sense. You rather empower John than to try and hamstring Goober, I think, here at this point of the draft anyway. Bro, I'm down to my last worm. That is sad.
Oh no!
Wait, what?
What? The last worm of like
do you open another bag?
Oh, dude, no, because if it's open, it's getting eaten. No, I'm leaving the rest in the box. This one's for me, no thanks.
Infernus, welcome to the party. Please bring your friend with you. In the meantime, what do you ban out here? What does Melee Creeps like demand? What is their go-to comp or player? ZP.
You can ban a Viscous in this rotation if you're Melee Creeps.
I think they also could ban a Mo in this instance, because anytime you play against Sneaky Golem, like low-key hydration signature hero is Mo, and you run Paradox with the Mo. It's good pickoff, and everyone kind of knows it. So if they get rid of the Mo, wouldn't hate it here.
It's just too good. with like
Everyone
Holiday
wants to know
or
why no
Paradox.
Victor, guys. Is Victor not cool?
Victor
Chat's using him.
he got nerfed. So, nerfed. Like the max damage of his aura got tuned down, and also like the rank 2 of his aura of suffering. Basically, his aura got nerfed a big time, and also the pain battery tier 1 and tier 2 skills. So I think he's just fallen off a little bit as a result of that. Oh, the Calico ban. That's actually really. This feels super targeted.
Goober!
That is based. That is nightmare fuel, though. I agree. Holy moly.
Yes.
Dan
100%.
shows up, just says hello while we're in there. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, that is.
What's
Just the
going on
way
here?
the bags. I guess I know they're trying to do the eyes, but it makes him look like he's got bags under his eyes. Like the Viscous is an addict of some illicit substance. You know, that's what it seems like. Billy, no, okay, let's go, dude. Frontliner that scales pretty nicely. Chain Gang is so sick for these team fights, especially when Pocket wants everyone to be grouped up to some degree, as does Kelvin. I like this a lot.
Also interested. I feel like if you're melee creeps, you want to get a good capacitor carry here. Actually, Ivy's still available, and part of it is that you got Viscous on the other side, so you get someone who's naturally gonna remove Cube. They don't pick Ivy here yet, and Ivy was still available, and there's not a lot of good natural capacitor carriers. I mean, yeah, the item got nerfed a little bit, but
Yeah, yeah.
Chat wants
Ice
a Viper.
obviously does not want the fire rate. She does not care for it. Viper does not want to invest in that either. Bebop's not available, and Infernus is picked, so is Wraith still reasonable in that regard? I guess you already have a fire rate stim on that hero anyway.
Last time we thought Page was in, it was a Paradox, but Paradox is picked first, so this Page is real.
Ah, true. See, I wasn't letting him pull the wool over my eyes. Pucker, good point. I like this a lot. Infernus is someone who benefits from that fire rate increase as well. So Page is obviously pretty powerful. And Amina, okay, I like that to round things out. That's pretty powerful. Again, someone else who likes to get that shielding. Love Bites obviously is a hit-based proc effect. So yes, Mina's a good look here.
also we didn't really talk about it, but the early pocket pick on melee creeps just means the more things change, the more they stay the same. Probably gonna be Ido on the pocket. So
True.
You get the comfort pick there, which is why Mina wasn't prioritized earlier. But I do like this. This is what I was saying earlier, is that I think Ivy makes sense. They needed kind of an M1 carry anyways, and now you get someone that can still build capacitor, make Goober's life a little bit more difficult. Where we saw that in the Trolli turn, by the way, when John was hooking people in. Oh, you're cubed. Well, zoop, it's just immediately gone. So just an extra level counterplay against the Viscous.
Does it also turn off the stand and fight buff from Page? The capacity. I'm trying to think of other applications for it here as well. Yeah,
It
So it's
strips
nice,
off basically everything. It even strips off your 5-minute buffs. Like you get the 5-minute buffs on the left or right middle of the map, and get hit by capacitor. That they also go bye.
And this
All
is
right, we
after like the
have-
item got nerfed as well. So
Big question from the chat. Does Billy get folded by Shiv? Brother, what? With 3 T's and a 1 at the end, says Billy is going to get crushed.
Nah.
I mean, no, Billy has scaling potential like to match that of Shiv, and the blasted buff is very, very good. Also, he also has more displacement and like disruptive capacity than Shiv does. Shiv is not someone who's trying to do that necessarily. He just wants to live in the fight and spread his damage as long as possible. Whereas Billy is a closer allegory to Abrams, in my opinion, right? Another hero that has like this like stopping power, knock up or charges. So he and Shiv don't quite fill the same niche, I suspect.
Aha! ZP! Who wins this draft?
I'm looking at the draft. Melee creeps. I looked at it for 2 seconds, realized you have Kelvin, you still win. Like, I think Kelvin is still that guy and creates a lot of problems as the game goes on. I mean, okay, looking at the lanes, some lanes for melee creeps, I would argue the better laning is with Sneaky Golem, but even still, you got a Kelvin. So as you don't get absolutely blown away in the early game, I think melee creeps have a lot of options to win this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the game is ready. It is your North American Grand Final with $1,000 on the line. Welcome to rematch number 6. Sneaky Golem taking on Melee Creeps for the 3rd time in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much, Chris Puckett. Now, if you joined us and caught our Challenger game, which Melee Creeps made short work of, just want to let you know that this is definitely slated to be a much closer affair. These two teams play each other close. They've exchanged series recently. So this is your 2 very best teams in North American Deadlock right now. And thanks to our friends at Intel, they've got $1,000 to play for. ZP, You like the laning potential Sneaky Golem's comp on overall melee creeps. I've got to agree. I think Ivy's a really nice round out to their comp. We talked about someone with a capacitor carrying potential. They've got the Kelvin. One of these lanes becomes, virtually unlosable. And you can shield some of your weaker laners inside that Kelvin setup and give them a bit of extra sustain. So we're about to find out who Kelvin's going to be playing with. And it looks like it's do my eyes see me, or is that the Ivy?
I think that's Billy. I might be wrong. I think Ivy's on the right. I think it's...
You're right. So, yeah. That's probably one of your weaker laners. So you're putting Kelvin there, having some extra sustain makes sense. Paige is going to be here. Hydration going to be on the Paige. Obviously, she has a projectile velocity that would put a snail to shame. So tough to last hit with, and not the most powerful individual in lane, but pair it with someone like AVG on the Shiv, and hey, you're cooking.
Shiv Paige is a very obnoxious lane. I mean, it lets Shiv get directly in your face without fear every single time that Paige shield is up, and it's hard to deal with. But on the same note, any lane with Kelvin can be pretty hard to deal with. Yeah, he got hit a little bit. He is a little bit less regen in lane, but Kelvin is still going to be enabling Billy to kind of counter in the same ways that like Shiv is dying, Billy's going to be able to dive. So it's a super interesting lane. Now the right hand lane, that looks like hell to go against. The Mina Viscous lane is definitely going to be posing a lot of problems to the Ivy pocket lane, I'd say. Yeah,
I think melee creeps are considering that to be a lane that might be sacking here a little bit, just try and get as much of that farm as possible, and don't let Mina become super relevant past that 15 to 20 minute mark. They do need to at some point clamp down on her impact, but here of course they're going to be playing safe and just trying to secure souls if they possibly can. In the mid, it's a bit more interesting, right? We've got Holiday and Lady Geist for melee creeps, and they're going up against this Infernus, right? Paradox, of course, definitely is at home in mid. It's easy to rotate to either of those outer lanes and have some impact, of course, just very potent here. So we have both of our initiator heroes on either side posted up here. Once we get to 3.6k, things get pretty volatile.
Yeah, I think middle is actually a bit of a wash. It's really going to depend on, for Scout, if you're actually able to connect with the Spirit Lasso early on, or, by contrast, if Rocker's able to get a good swapper. By the way, it's AVG on the Shiv and Rocker on the Paradox. We didn't really talk too much about that, but yeah, that's how they decided to split the two Rocker heroes, because he couldn't play both.
So now, Sneaky Golem not able to really benefit as much in this early pressure as they would like, but of course they've got camps here, that they can try and fight for. And it looks like they're trying to bait melee creeps into defending their tier 1s, or they just take them themselves, as Goober has just evidenced. So melee creeps not really falling for the bait. This is a lane, obviously, that's a little hard for them to play, but DMB and Ido can obviously make those early, regen investments, get some souls in vitality, stick around, of course. Watch as Covenant will give you that extra staying power, and you've got Wave Clear and Kudzu Bomb, for example. So see them make as much use of that as it possibly can. AVG's going to be forced back, by that Aurora Beam. Again, it is a Kelvin lane, so you've always got to have your wits about you.
Yeah, and by the eye test, it's on a small margin, but it's actually been a little bit better for the Kelvin Billy over the Paige Shiv, even though, again, Paige Shiv is a really strong lane. I don't think Kelvin Billy is all that much weaker, if at all, really, from what we've been seeing. Right-hand side is where I think things are going to get explosive first, one way or the other. As, middle trading off. We'll see what happens when we get to 3.4.
John there looking for some Essence Bomb damage, but will be dodged away from. As League's looking for chances to get in here, but Life Drain, of course, is always tricky to fight against. Not heavily invested in item-wise, though. Once the John's got to be suspended by the Carbine. Look at that Flame Dash allowing League to run up on him. He may well just burn out here behind the side, and so he does. League opens up the account as John gets a little bit too close to the sun.
That was the last tick, too. You got the Afterburn up into the Flame Dash, and the Flame Dash just extends the Afterburn by just the absolute minimum amount to take down the kills. So that was very much on a knife's edge, but a good edge here for the mid for Sneaky Golem, where again, I do think game-wise, there is more pressure on Sneaky Golem to get one of these lanes in their favor early, just because you are dealing with Kelvin on late-game team fights.
League very pleased with that exchange. That will allow for a tier 2 item to be picked up now. AVG, of course, as expected, those sustain items invested into pretty heavily. You see a restorative shot there, of course, alongside that extra regen. So it's very much about having the staying power to collect these souls. Bloodletting, when invested in, of course, is going to make sustain a little bit easier. And yeah, Hydration is trying to push the wave where he can, which is Not often, but just do what you can, buddy. Get out there and throw some spectral daggers. You got to secure a lot of these kills with these melees. You'll notice it's Paige's sort of MO if she wants to try and participate in that farming early. It's Chain Gang that comes in pretty early, but that can be LOS. AVG still going to be tugged in, knocked up straight away. Here's the Blasted now active. A Dragon Conjured, though, to try and force them back. Fishcake has honestly seen enough. The wave not really pushing in his favor anyway, so he will turn back.
Pretty reasonable time to push in and try and make something happen. There was a brief window where, you know, you're a little bit ahead. You have Chain Gang. You don't have to worry about killing Blow, but, you know, now it's online. But if that turned into a deeper dive, then there's a world where you actually get the kill and don't have to worry about, you know, giving up the killing Blow in turn. But also, there's still a bit of a window here because you don't have Rallying Charge from Hydration up. So if you want to dive, now is the time for this left lane.
Yeah, just a couple of hundred souls and Hydration will be there. He's actually managed to get it. So Rallying Charge now ready. Had to be skilled into a minor mechanical issue that Hydration is now rectified. A pretty tight game, all things considered, across these lanes. We obviously want to spend a lot of our time on this current lane because this represents the most aggressive potential, especially with Chain Gang now in the game. Frozen Shelter obviously picked up by Sire, not necessary in their previous fight. They basically just turned the Chain Gang use into a really healthy trade for them that allows them to keep shoving.
If you're melee creeps, you're pretty happy with the starts of this game here so far. No lane has been a losing lane. And you're good with status quo. You're good with even because you like your comp in the late game a bit more than the Sneaky Golem comp. I mean, Sneaky Golem, the only way that you're not super pleased in the late game against them is if they end up with some like ridiculous soul over a portion to where, you know, AVG is just super far ahead of the game. But you know, if that doesn't happen, you're good for this to go late as MC.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to scale, I think, a little bit. Okay, Gooball here. Used by Goober. More of an escape now as melee creeps did find an opportunity to come forward and make use of that affliction. So Goober here is going to be able to shrug off that ticking damage for the most part. Have to double back a little bit, but in his stead, we still see pressure being applied there by the Mina. Rockers down, though. John able to pick them up now. This is about to get a little bit messy. Flame Dash now available again for League, and he is going to use it to get out of dodge.
Also enabling that kill is John just use swap to get Rocker in a bit of a tough position, and things heating up here on the right-hand side. Ivy just ducking and diving. The Sanguine Retreat, though, in hot pursuit.
That Sanguine Retreat. Can he get the mileage? A bit of Poppins moment there from Rokane, but can't catch the Ivy. DMB evades getting picked off there. Feels like a stay of execution. Now to Satchel pops. Rokane takes a lot of damage. His Love Bites will definitely do more than just tickle Ido, but he's confident coming forward. And so Healing Rites now needs to hit the inventory.
I see them.
All right, so these lanes getting a little bit hot and heavy across the board. Both teams looking for the key moment. Melee creeps, though, their Guardians a little bit more wounded, especially in middle, where one more good push, and that should put it over the top. But at 8 minutes with no Guardians down here just yet, I mean, it's kind of proof of how even the game has been. Usually at least one is gone.
Paradoxical swap there will inflict the silence on Scout as the wall was crossed. Rocker's not able to do too much more about that. League is in position. Goober comes back with a vengeance, though. So Ido is picked off. It's all happening on that left-hand side of the map. Carbine going to be loaded up here, though, by Rocker. This is just harassment. And that fight on that right side starts to peter out a little bit now, as, of course, DMB Solo is not going to try and look to take a fight. Scout could be in trouble, though. Here we go. Combustion available for League if he wants to come forward with it. But a jump pad and quick escape for Scout will temper the flames.
Ido rolling back out to the right-hand side. Lanes reestablishing, but on the left is where things are really getting heated and may be up to Saya to cool things down. Frozen Shelter actually has already been used, but the beam out in turn, limiting AVG's movement just a bit, and it's looking like a reset after what was a heated skirmish.
It takes a lot for either of these lanes to kill each other, in fairness. There's just a lot of sustain active for both these sides. Dragon Conjured, this is a bit of wave clear now to try and set the playing field to favor Sneaky Golem. John no went down in mid. That's Lead looking like they found a pickup. Maybe with the concussive combustion by the looks. Now more fighting to be done there. Paradoxical swap comes down. No Guardian to protect Scout either. This is dangerous now for the Holiday. Trying to dodge and duck. Hit these crack shots. And they are able to slip away. But Fishcake's been picked off. That, of course, was over towards the left side of the map. Back on board here with AVG. There are fights happening in simultaneous lanes. Hard to follow. But Sneaky Golem have got tempo in the left and mid lanes. And honestly, the right lane's been already in their favor.
And this is what Sneaky Golem needs. They need to get a little bit of a gap going before you get later into the game. Otherwise, it's just not going to end well for them. So things starting to break a bit in their way as part the comp would kind of dictate. off to the right-hand side. I don't know
as well. Coming in early for the Shiv CP, super relevant against like both the Geist and the Kelvin. So pretty heads up take.
Yeah, and Healbane comes and goes in phases where sometimes it'll just be built no matter what. Other times it's more of a counter. And I feel like build-wise, we've seen more teams go actually just get the Healbane early, because it's also pretty good momentum-wise. Where forget just countering a hero, you get a kill, you get the heal. Particularly if you're looking at something like a Shiv that already gets its positive synergy between his passive and healing in general.
Goober trying to hunt down here. I know, gonna be cloaking away though. So these teams really not letting each other do anything in terms of fun. They're trying to pull each other back into the lane constantly. I know we'll get a top up here. We'll see Watcher's Covenant healing right. We'll get him back to full health. Chasers on those sides, very, very low. AVG knows he's got an opportunity here, but maybe just work on the Guardian. Parries it expertly, of course, and a slice and dice will take care of the Kelvin. Guardian, though, down here for Sneaky Golem. Rocker in the midst of things. It looks like all of these Guardians falling almost simultaneously here. As one comes back up for the Amber side. That's the pressure in left and mid lanes now manifesting in that advantage. 5k souls, excuse me, in the game.
I like the goal here to get the urn. There is a very small window where Sneaky Golem pushes on urn and makes it a bigger team fight. They're going to be able to do it without worrying about Dome, because generally speaking, I don't think they love the idea of urn fights here between Dome and Affliction on the other side. Yeah, you have Rallying Charge, but if you don't get pick off, you don't love the even urn fight. But
this is good.
Speaking of pick offs, this could qualify.
Yeah, I mean, DMB getting forced out of the fight early and actually taken down in the end makes this urn turn in all but a guarantee now. I mean, it's kind of the dream, really, for Sneaky Golem to have the urn turning location in their hardest winning lane. Even though the Guardians are still up, don't be fooled. This is definitely where they found the biggest advantage, and they're going to press it here. Ido is chased down. Rocker's able to find the pickoff. That now is Guardian number 3 picked up for the Amber side. That with the urn turn in has snowballed this lead out to 9k.
Yeah, Sneaky Golem, again, doing what they need to do here. Still have one Guardian up versus melee creeps. And now your question is, okay, you're up around 8k. How do you turn this 8k into even more? How do you prevent melee creeps from getting a solid handle on the game? And a lot of the answer to that question is going to come from Hydration hanging out with AVG and Rocker setting things up with Paradoxical Swap, while at the same time not giving Scout good value on the lasso and going from there. And part of how they're going to be able to do this is just taking a few risks, invading into the melee creep side, and causing some of these fights while they have a bit of an edge.
Yeah, plenty of room there for melee creeps to bring back the deficit in that regard, though, because of course they've always got the Kelvin, they've always got the lasso potential, they've always got the pocket affliction if it hits properly enough. But Fishcake there didn't have much to say about the situation. Scout is a little bit too late. Oh, captivating read catches him out. This could be bad. The reactive barrier, though, goes a long way to staving off that early burst, and ultimately the Holiday cannot be pursued.
As someone that's played a lot of Holiday in recent times, let me tell you, Captivating Read is the most frustrating skill with its vertical reach, where you think you're good, and it will just pull you down the ground. It is awful to deal with. Ido, though, under a bit of pressure here on the right-hand side, just gonna keep out of there.
Yeah, no need to fight for that. But now Sneaky Golem, first phase of this plan is almost complete. CP, the waves are pushed very heavily in their favor. Now they can start thinking about stepping into the melee creeps jungle. They're doing that on the left side of the map. You can see in mid, melee creeps are trying to generate a bit of aggression now because they see it's just hydration there, or so they think. Concussive combustion coming in from the left-hand side of the map, excuse me. League trying to chase him on down. Looks like Fishcake, though, will be able to walk himself away. And in mid, it was determined that there was a Shiv waiting in the wings. So no pressure on hydration. Melee creeps trying to find a way to break through the net. Might be on this right-hand side of the map. Yeah, the Sun Brewing here. Ido picked off early, though. Not a great start for melee creeps. And in comes Sire. Well, of course, a shelter has to be deployed now. How do you make use of this? AVG is very, very beefy. Likely will still be alive by the time the shelter clears. Now we can do so much to slice and dice. That is a disgusting amount of damage going in Sire's direction. Eventually, AVG is picked up, but you traded a frozen shelter and still went 1 for 1. It's not where you want to be as melee creeps. You are losing out on these value exchanges across the map, and DMB is 11k souls. Very squishy. Rokane makes sure of the demise of the Ivy, and now it's Scout under some degree of pressure. In and under the Guardian, gobbled up there as a Walker take simultaneously from Goober. House of Cards starting to come down, ZP.
Also, I think the tragic thing about that last fight is that you know how it began. It began with Scout landing a lasso onto Rocker, and somehow Rocker probably just drops a time wall, is able to shake some of the pressure, and it turns into a fight that goes against melee creeps when in reality, they had the initiation and the open. But now, getting pressured across the map, Ido getting sent back a little bit, and the lead has nearly ballooned to 20,000 souls at this point. This is exactly where Sneaky Golem needed to be for the composition they have. The main thing they have to avoid, though, is giving up an urn. Next urn, if melee creeps were to lock it in, is going to be an urn that's favored to their side of the map, and they're going to have a Kelvin with Dome. So, to me, the key objective here for Sneaky Golem, do not give up urn control.
Melee creeps trying to fight here on this right-hand side of the map. It is a very vertical engagement, mostly from the rooftops. Oh, that's a good buff to take if you are Lady Geist. A little bit of extra health regen goes a heck of a long way, especially with that radiant regeneration already in the inventory. Here's the chase down. John going to be caught up, stunned up, and deleted. Goober going to make sure of that. Frozen Shelter being deployed now. Sire trying to give his team the edge of this fight, but ABG's taking approximately 0 damage. Nothing sticks to this Shiv right now. He's going to be able to wade through this quite comfortably. Come out unscathed. Veil Walker invisibility will be refreshed, but there are no melee creeps left in the vicinity. And that urn turn in pretty easy to start now for Sneaky Golem.
The important thing for Sneaky Golem is they have control of the urn. That's why you had melee creeps going all the way over there, is that if you're able to get the initial urn control, your ability to just use Kelvin Dome to go in, get the comeback urn is big, and then instead of, you know, it being a situation where Sneaky Golem is up nearly 20k, melee creeps would be within 10 and feeling really, really good. So turning in this urn, getting rid of the potential of, you know, comeback urn property is really important, and you want to force it while shelter is down.
All right, urn needs to be dropped here for the time being, or turned in rather. Yeah, that's one way of dropping it, I suppose. For all the souls you could ask for, melee creeps, look at those health bars. They are low. They are behind in this fight, and it's getting worse and worse. Ido chased down. League's able to pick him off. The Tesla bullets definitely help securing that kill. The Infernus is right where he needs to be souls-wise, and AVG and Rokane are in the same position. It's an easy decision to go for mid-boss now, as melee creeps only have 4 players up to contest this. And honestly, they're walking into a paradoxical swap rallying charge scenario. That is not an enviable position.
No, the contest options here are not good. I mean, we'll see if melee creeps decide to go for it. Okay, they're going to chain gang. They want to steal at least one charge. They get the chain gang off to the right. Rallying charge, though, thereafter cools things down for Sneaky Golem.
Yeah, nothing to be done there, of course. Rallying charge is huge. And honestly, the chain gang was fine, but it didn't pull enough off Sneaky Golem off the objective, really. So Fishcake needed a little bit more help, but these are the risks you know you have to take when you are behind. That's how you get back into the game. But against a team who is so squeaky clean as Sneaky Golem looked tonight, those are also opportunities to extend their lead, their chokehold on the game. At least the Walker's taken in. Melee creeps with their signature macro style, making sure they don't give something for nothing. Scout's going to be forced to run away here, but likely to be caught. Jump pad, Holiday, slippery as always, and will abscond. But this Walker on the right-hand side of the map is certainly on the menu for Sneaky Golem.
Also, you look at the soul allocation where it's at right now. On one hand, you're pretty happy that DMB is well farmed, even when you've been behind the game, but dealing with the 20k Shiv, 20k, and first on the other side, and the fact that Ido is just broke. I've never seen Ido this broke here, Mitch, as his next fight takes on.
Yeah, he's probably not used to being in this position either. Nox Nostra being activated now. DMB just has to stand and fight. Got the leech in the inventory at least, so some of the items starting to come together a little bit. No capacitor just yet, though, for the Ivy, so those cubes are going to be mostly uncontested. DMB has to use that airdrop to get on out, and so he does, but he's very out of position, even in enemy territory, and that walk is still going to be contested. Hydration here, ready to fight for it, I'm quite sure. Looks like he got a cube there from Goober, and League is uncontested from this high ground. Look at the damage he's putting in, that afterburn being applied. Now it's Walker time, but again, Melee Creep's looking for a trade of objectives now. You see John here working on this mid-side Walker. AVG alone, though, might be enough to stave this off.
It gets stalled out a bit by DMB, who is one of the more farm characters, but is about to be chopped to bits. Killing blow over and no escape, but they get the Walker in turn. That was the main objective.
I mean, it's pretty nice. This is Melee Creeps who are fighting without any rejuve credits to speak of. So yes, they're giving up players, but the respawn times at this early part of the game are low enough that they're just taking these big objectives to try and stay within a stone's throw of Sneaky Golem's soul total. And honestly, in that regard, not too bad. Both teams down to one Walker, but you know, this mid-Walker for Melee Creeps is where the next big fight is going to be staged. Melee Creeps at least have Frozen Shelter. They've got a lot of their big abilities available. This will still be tough to fight for, though, as we're on board with Goober. It looks like you might want a secret shop visit before they really commit to a fight.
Yeah, they're backing out a little bit. They still have enough time on the rejuve. You take a look at it, they have, I think, around about a minute left at this point. It's in there, maybe a little bit under. So they're going to make a push on the middle in all likelihood, try and get the last walker down if you're Sneaky Golem. But it's also why rejuve is such a big advantage, is that it's been a while. You have an enormous amount of time to secure things around the map, get an urn in your favor, and then still push down an objective where you got 3 rejuve charges left. Surely, Sneaky Golem, you would think, would group up here and look for a fight before it's all fully gone.
I like the split shot hollow point combo for Goober's EP. That looks pretty terrifying. Alk Fire active there for Rocker. Obviously pretty important in a lot of these extended engagements. All of Sneaky Golem, though, playing from the high ground. Ample opportunity, though, for carbine connections and for Rocker to find ways to get involved. But, ooh, you see a delightful movement buff. And that is going to be picked up by the Paradox.
Sneaky Golem is actually running out of time to make this rejuve work. In fact, at this point, they're not going to get a full extra fight. But also to talk about itemization a little bit is that talking with coaches, there is this idea that that Alk Fire is probably one of the more underrated items in the moment, as DMB in some danger, but Chain Gang going to help him out just for now.
Burst down. Nothing that could really be done about that one. That is the kind of thing you're looking for if you're melee creeps, but it only burns a rejuve credit, and Fishcat quickly needs to be hoisted to safety because melee creeps can't afford to stay around for too long. DMB still going to get chased down. Here comes a concussive combustion in the belly. Has nowhere to go. Knocked in his rear end, forced to try and jump out, and a flame dash from League will also be used to put himself where he's most needed in this next engagement, because that was Sire who has fallen. And our base Guardian's been looked at, but once again, John, so annoying. That split push down mid is going to generate a little bit of pressure. The wave is breaking in just the right spot for melee creep, so he can get some base Guardians potentially. Rokane's going to have to double back and deal with that. For now, it's going to be a swap on Scout, trying to get away, jump out, but AVG will chase him down with a killing blow.
That was tough for Scout. Scout jumps in, whips lasso, and also gets jumped on by 2 and ends up giving away their life. The upside for melee creeps and all of this is that while it's been tough for them in the last 5 minutes, they actually did defend well enough that they don't give up all their walkers off one rejuve. The problem is that they're still far enough behind that they're not winning any of these skirmishes, and they're down 2 as Urn is looking to be turned in. They don't have key ultimates to contest, like the frozen shelters. So yeah, I mean, the comeback Urns just have not been available for melee creeps, and Urns are one of the things you want to win most when you have Kelvin. It is your biggest edge. It's just the timing has not worked out for them at all this game.
It's painful. The Urn turn-in location means if they fight there, they lose, and if they lose that fight, which they likely will, they lose the blue walker, their last walker in mid. They give that one flex slot that, frankly, Sneaky Golem are looking to fill at the moment. So defending that walker is a higher priority than fighting for the Urn. We'll have an item sold here, of course, and AVG is going to add the tank buster. So more burst potential here with that slice and dice. You've got to fear. You got to fear what the shit can do to you. And I think that's exactly what Scout's about to experience. Has to slip away quickly, get back under the safety of the walker.
Mitch, I think what you have to ask yourself right now is NA EU. Because if it was EU, we'd be seeing Sneaky Golem about to just have the worst mid-boss ever and get melee creeps back into the game. Because EU has not had a great track record on mid-bosses went ahead in the last week. However, this is still NA. Mid-boss is coming up in 1 minute. Sneaky Golem is likely to go directly for mid-boss or look for a pick and then mid-boss thereafter. Melee creeps, their only chance back into the game at this point, Mitch, is to make something good happen for themselves at mid-boss.
Ido just escaped on that right side. This actually might have caused an overextension for Rocker. I think there was a paradoxical swap being used there. Rocker deep in enemy territory. This is dangerous. Lasso connecting on to the Paradox. And that Sneaky Golem cut down to 5. Melee creeps get a 1-for-none exchange. And now, feeling emboldened, they're looking to tangle with the rest of Sneaky Golem. They want that player advantage, or they are hunting for it. AVG quickly jump pads the heck out of there. And Sneaky Golem might have to lick their wounds until mid-boss.
I think the upside for Sneaky Golem here is that they haven't given up another pick, and this is not an advantage that you can easily turn into mid-boss if you're melee creeps. Like, you need more than just Rocker, especially when Rocker is going to be able to get involved on the tail end of the fight. If you're melee creeps, you want to get your lanes pushed up again and see if you can get another and go mid-boss thereafter. Ideally, you avoid the full team fight, but as I say that, they're just going in. So it's only 6 on 5. They actually think this advantage is enough. This is risky, but it is their main way back into the game. Should they be successful, Sneaky Golem on the setup. The mid-boss is screamed. Now melee creeps. Mitch, they've set the trap.
That is an early frozen shelter, but it catches out AVG. The shift can't be relevant for the first part of the fight. Now, melee creeps, look at them, desperate to group up, and AVG is a little bit on his own right now. Dangers abound here for melee creeps. Affliction already used earlier on. Cold Front also to try and slow them down. It's Goober exchange for DMB, but Scout falls. AVG is still alive, still kicking, and still cutting. This is unfair. Sneaky Golem too far ahead, and all the souls are in the right places. AVG at 30k has just cut a bloody sway through melee creeps. They're down to 3 players. This means that mid-boss is certainly on the table, but this time it's the Amber side who are eyeing it off.
Yeah, and at this point, this is pretty much the game. You're going to get mid-boss, you're up 30k, you have an enormous advantage. You are going to cut through the mid-walker like it is nothing in just a moment. And the comeback potential now for melee creeps, pretty minimal. And I gotta say, take a look at this game and take good notice. This is a game where Kelvin got picked, and it didn't matter. Sneaky Golem has been able to power through the Kelvin just by getting a lane set up here, Mitch, that was really focused on the early game.
They're going to be able to, dash forward, of course, that warp zone used. This is the game definitely cracked open. That's Walker getting scrutinized, but not quite picked off there in mid, but it's a heck of a lot else to play for now that you have these rejuve credits active. The earn turning could be nice. Again, it's Rocker who's been tempting fate again, very heavily extended on a very separate side of the map, and they are going to be brought down with no hope of reprisal. So melee creeps lost John. For that, it's a rejuve credit being burnt, of course. Rocker's going to be finally eliminated. You cannot use any more rejuve credits for those that are wondering. Just the one. So 55 seconds out of the game for him. A bona fide 5v5, but that's a soul earned turn in to keep that lead extended for Sneaky Golem. And there comes League. He's going to be hitting him hard. Ido will burn down, not even be given a moment to bleed out as all of Sneaky Golem chase him down. This is not something you can necessarily convert directly into that Walker take, but you can eat some shrines and you can start to scratch the pain up on that patron.
Mitch, I've seen enough. The horns have gone back on because we're about to be back on camera. That is...
Okay, that's what the horns being on me, because I wasn't sure. Because it's like, are they like business socks? You know what I mean? I wasn't sure. I don't know if you're a Flight of the Conchords fan, but I'm glad to know what the horns being on means.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't keep them balanced in my head an entire match while off camera. You know, that's just part of the magic behind. But when the game's about to end, the horns guy go back on. The patron getting burned on down. Sneaky Golem looking strong, Mitch.
There you have it. That is wrapped up. Sneaky Golem. While we feel like melee creeps had a good overall comp, we definitely called out. We felt the laning potential for Sneaky Golem was very, very good. And frankly, in at least 2 out of 3 of the lanes at all times, Sneaky Golem had prio. They definitely had the advantage. At one point, they were able to take all of those out of Guardians basically first. Melee creeps are really good at the game. They know how to, have these exchanges of value even when they're behind to keep them relevant, to keep them, keep them to a point in the game where they can actually hope to punish a mistake. And it does happen. There is a mistake, of course, that slight overextension there by the Paradox on a couple of occasions, but it's not enough.
Not enough. Pretty good game 1. I thought we were going into the 30s, and we finished just before that. Do we go to a game 3 tonight, Mr. ZP Brims?
I think it's a possibility. I think, though, interestingly enough, I think melee creeps, they have to kind of look back at their last draft and go, okay, they're going to give us the Kelvin. They are terrified of Bebop because Sneaky Golem, I think, has clearly just made the justification of we will beat them with anything other than them playing Bebop. But where this game went away from them is that they did have a comp that was a little bit more late game coded, and they weren't able to get to late game even. Sneaky Golem, towards the end of the laning phase, around 10 minutes, was able to get ahead. They turned a 10k lead into significantly more over time, and melee creeps, they were never quite able to get in the spot where they were able to go to urn fight with control of the urn and have frozen shelter. Sneaky Golem just continually knew the interchange points to get in and interrupt the melee creeps flow, so they never had their win conditions and were always stuck adapting to Sneaky Golem. But part of that was just the comp that melee creeps ran that in the end did not quite have the early mid-game power that Sneaky Golems did.
I think we're about to see some statistics. Goober dropping some info in the chat earlier. He called out the right click on a Viscous. He says 34 kills and 5, and it took this long. This game is some buns. What's he complaining about here, Uber? Did he not finish this fast enough for his liking?
I guess. I mean, you're referencing obviously the total, kills on either side. In fairness, it was because Sneaky Golem had a chance to probably sort of end the game and opted to double back, which I think is fine because anyone who's played this game, a decent amount knows that you're most vulnerable when you're falling back off of the enemy base after like a patron knock. You don't want to get like chased down and picked off. You got to be pretty careful about that. Just don't linger. Sometimes some people hang around. You've got to be on the same page about disengaging away from that. But look, that's the way it goes. The reason why the game got extended was because melee creeps were able to find a walker, get a trade there, contest objectives of the map, also split push really annoyingly, and that's great, but it takes a little bit more than that to actually get you back into the game. It just keeps you in the conversation for now.
For the haters going up against my man Viscous, Goober dropping some serious numbers with the help of those right clicks. He says, I asked admins deliberately before using it. Cry if you want. It's not illegal. It's fair game. Goober says, suck it. I'm going to use it if it's in the game. Ban it out if you're afraid. This is the second Kelvin that has lost in back-to-back matches here, not just from NA. Is Kelvin no longer the must-have? Is Shiv now that guy?
I mean, I think Shiv is quite good. I also think here is that Kelvin is starting to run into the problem of if a character is permabanned for a long enough period of time, you start forgetting how to play Kelvin effectively, or you stop like game planning around because you don't expect to get the Kelvin. And I don't think melee creeps spent a bunch of scrims with Saya on Kelvin. And I think it's interesting how this happens in MOBAs, where when something is like so incredibly meta, you don't get the practice playing it, and therefore its value actually goes down a little bit until you actually get multiple games of playing it. Now, the upside for melee creeps is that the terror of Bebop is so strong that should they want to run Kelvin again, they'll probably get the opportunity.
Yeah. And I look, the function of the
tonight, he's ready to fight the entire chat. Are you guys paying attention to what is going down here?
I mean, I'm here for that. Goober, bro has plenty to say. I appreciate that as well up in the chat.
All right,
but
sorry for
I also think,
off. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying the Kelvin's being used there to try and like smooth out a bad lane for Billy, but you're up against the paid Shiv. So you like the Kelvin is trying to, get Billy through lane, get him some souls in his pocket, make him relevant. But I'd much rather see Kelvin being used to snowball a really oppressive lane and just completely just shut someone out of the game and get in a really early guardian and go hunting for some more kill participation opportunities. It just felt like only half of Warden's kit was being used. That's sustain, which is fine, keeps Billy in the conversation, gets souls in his pocket. But yeah, I think you want more from your Kelvin.
ZP chat wants to know, who are you dressed up as? I assume they're talking to you.
That's crazy.
Well, it's Mina. Actually, no, it's Vindicta. Like, Vindicta. I'm blue, right? Like, it's clearly Vindicta. Like, if you're not seeing Vindicta, like, I don't know. But
lore knowers, are they the same sort of subspecies, Vindicta and Abrams?
No. Abrams is just, I think, from another dimension that's kind of like crossed in with all the gateway stuff going on in Deadlock, and Vindicta. She just got murdered in the Salem witch trials. Is what went on there, and now she's a ghost. Ghost.
I love Deadlock lore.
Ghost with the sniper rifle. It all makes sense. I need to read up more on the lore. In fact,
the lore's
talking
crazy,
about it before the show. Your lore lords in front of you will be putting together some very fun segments in the future. If you're a uber nerd and you love to read or create up stories of your own about these characters, we'd love to feature some of your art or input on the show. ZP will coordinate all of that because I'm too lazy to do it. More info to come on that for now. We're not going to a break, Solomon. Hold your pee. Can we just force these NA kids to lock in? Because I'll be honest, it's another 2-0. Melee creeps, pack your bags. You're done. Unless John gets his bebop, you're cooked, right, Uber?
Look, kinda. I'm surprised actually of just how much melee creeps struggled in that game, but the draft probably needs a little bit more gas, maybe just in the lane. I want to see him do some relevant stuff in the mid game. I don't think it's a 2-0. Sorry, I know you don't want to hear this, bro, but I believe melee creeps. They've got this. They can bring it back. Faux show.
I'm down for more. I'm down. I think we are over 2,000 viewers over on twitch.tv/Deadlock Night Shift. Thank you to everyone hanging out with us over on YouTube. We got over 1,300. I saw a peak of 1,600 just about 20 minutes ago. And ZP, you are the talk of the town. Is there anything you want the people who are tuning in from Ireland, India, we had an Australian in here, what should they know about the great Blue Abrams from the state up north?
Anyways, you know what Abrams said? Abrams is pretty darn good detective, as it turns out. It just, he got, this cursed book dropped in his lap and with a note that said, don't let them have it, is where it's at. So
this
now...
is literally a self-plug opportunity and you're giving lore. That is crazy, bro.
Well,
that is crazy.
Abrams,
Uber coach him up. Uber coach him up.
Bro, you need to tell them where to find you. You need to tell them what the Cash App is. You need to tell them how much they have to pay for you to say weird stuff on the broadcast, bro. This is how we do it.
Ladies, he has a microphone. It is one of the best in the industry. Let him put it to work, and you can hire him over on Cameo.com. I am his agent. We'll talk later if you want.
He will read your smutty chapters
He does
for
all
you.
the physical stuff. Sneaky Golem taking on the melee creeps. We're going to start here with the challengers getting the first ban, and Kelvin was left through. They grabbed it in the first round last time. This time they say no paradox play.
Yeah, I think they've had enough rocker on the paradox. They're just like, yep, we don't want to deal with that. But Sneaky Golem, I don't think they had a fear of Kelvin put into them last time around. I think they're going anti-robot again here. They're taking down Bebop, and they're going to go... Yeah, they're going to go melee creeps and go, hey, pick the Kelvin again. See if we care.
No bot. Yep, you called it.
Yeah, no surprise. I do think that, John, I would like to see John on an initiator. I think that he's obviously great on guys, good on gun heroes in general. Like to see like maybe a little bit of extra utility as opposed to like him kind of getting left behind by the game and being a split pushing annoyance bucket. Again, like, so you maybe don't want to first pick Holiday. You are going to go for the Kelvin, but let's see Kelvin in a lane that's designed to snowball a good matchup as opposed to smooth over a bad one.
Back to you, Sneaky Golem. Says you don't get a paradox. You'll lock in your Shiv with who else?
Holiday. I think you've taken your two premium initiators off the board between Bebop and Paradox. It is highly encouraging you to go Holiday. Now, there's no way that melee creeps don't know this. I think part of why they're looking at this is that they want to angle to get something premium like an Infernus for themselves on the next round of picks, because I just think where that's going. Or on the off chance that they decide, hey, we're going to go with the Infernus, then they get to pick a Holiday, and then Sneaky Golem, they are without a key initiator of their own. So they go the Yamato. So I can guarantee you for melee creeps, one of the next two picks almost certainly is going to be a Holiday.
Yeah, gotta take that at some point here. I also like, it's crazy. Infernus is still so good. He still hits very, very hard. And I mean, I think he got nerfed on the his flame dash got nerfed slightly. Also, afterburn also got reduced, like just in terms of outright damage. But bro's still hitting very, very hard.
Hey, ladies.
Surely Holiday here from someone.
No. You'd think. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that Saya is usually the one that's played the Holiday, but he's not going to play both the Holiday and the Kelvin. So if you don't see it, it's a
just
hero
John.
pool. Yeah.
John can play the Holiday. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we saw that in our challenger game.
Okay.
Okay.
Spicy boy. When you said I'm wearing a hat for this show, Uber, I was really hoping you were dressing up as Infernus.
I mean, yeah, because it came across as I'm just wearing a hat. I thought about Infernus, but like I've left my Fedora Lord like socially unaware years behind. So my collection of fedoras is probably in Australia somewhere. You know what I mean? I just don't have them anymore.
Sorry, I'm a little
also, like,
had to finish the chapter I was on.
I don't know if there's any world where like me cosplaying Infernus the same way that ZP's cosplaying Abrams would be appropriate for obvious reasons. So
yeah,
I might leave that one
not good to have on broadcast.
Yeah, it's definitely the fire that I'm concerned about trying to replicate.
Cage is going to be locked in here for the Golems, and on the other side, we get banned. Lady Geist, you can't be used. So what do you do instead?
Pick Mirage.
Melee creeps.
I think Ban Holiday say no one gets to have a top tier initiator in this instance.
Pocket's still up. Where's Doorman, by the way? What is going on?
Oh, Doorboy's been missing.
Doorman, not as favored in NA after the nerfs, even though it's been very, very valued in
so
EU.
Good tonight.
Look out for a Calico from Sneaky Golem as well. I think you've got to be aware of that. You do ban Goober out. That's fine. I mean, he can not play Bebop or Viscous, but Calico is pretty contestable here. Pocket is also still in rotation. Holiday, for the love of God, is still out there.
Calico go to hydration or AVG?
Could go to either, but I would guess hydration with who's played it more recently.
Haze is instead.
You might not have another bona fide gun carry. You might not want to play Ivy. Haze, obviously, you can build like the capacitor line on her because she really wants fire rate. That's the kind of gun carry that she is. but we've seen more of like supportive hybrid-esque builds with like aura effects from her. There's Calico, okay, getting picked up by melee creeps instead. She's just so good right now.
I'm trying to think, when was the last time we saw Sneaky Golem actually play Holiday? Because I don't think it's been all that often. I wonder if there's a little bit of hidden intel here of just, oh, Sneaky Golem isn't going to like playing it. Because they grabbed Haze, which is probably going to be played by Goober, and you can play Haze somewhat as your quasi-playmaker in lieu of a Bebop, Paradox, or Holiday. But I think Melee Creeps had the read here that Sneaky Golem didn't necessarily want to use a pick on Holiday in the first place. So, yeah, they get some pretty good value.
That is so heads up, because I'm looking and Sneaky Golem did not play Holiday at all during Trolli.
Okay.
On no occasions, as far as I can see here, did they actually pick that hero.
They did speedrun the tournament, though.
No more hiding.
Until Melee Creeps got in their way.
Yeah.
Yeah. How interesting. Okay, so yeah, Pocket obviously was floating around. So the Holiday is picked up for Melee Creeps. But yeah, I think then in that case, with that context, and the Paradox ban first is like super heads up, especially when you know your opponents are forced to ban Bebop. Your opponents are a little bit limited on that like hard engage. Do you like try and go in the Moe and Cruel direction to supplement that? Like, yeah, okay. So you want an actual gun carry outside of the Haze here, which makes sense. So maybe slightly more supportive. I want to see what they do with the Haze here for sure.
You know, I think there's a world where they may have gone the Moe and Krill instead of the Pocket, but in terms of hero pools, I don't know if Sneaky Golem has anyone else that actually wants to play Page. But Hydration is also their main Moe and Krill player, so I think there's like hero pool stuff going in as that was
yeah.
Abrams getting like we have had so many variations of the Abrams splash art, I've got to say, and they've all involved ZP. So I've got to say that is warming the cockles of the art.
Here it is.
I'm ready.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna unravel there in just a moment. You missed it because your horns fell over your eyes. You're blinded by your own
there
phone.
It is.
That's great. That is great. Okay, so looking over this now, I think Melee Creeps in lane are gonna do a bit more. Abrams and Calico for me, that's quite nice. I think Kelvin now can find a lane assignment that actually allows him to, instead of covering over weak laning, just honestly being solid. On the Sneaky Golem side, right, you have the Shift Page lane still, obviously very annoying. Yamato, amazing in lane. Fire rate reduction on any of your abilities is so good. Crimson Slash is going to have that effect. And obviously Pocket can be pretty powerful there as well. Ivy's going to take a little bit of time to get going. Haze to some degree as well. So I feel like Melee Creeps might have the chance to be the bullies early in the game that they weren't last match. It's my take.
It's going to be interesting. I think in terms of initiation, the thing that's going to suck for Sneaky Golem is that if you're not able to get the Haze going in the mid game, you don't have a lot of great options for getting fight started in the late game if you're not already at an advantage. So Melee Creeps is definitely the more durable of the two teams. I also think in terms of, I mean, as heresy as this may be to say, Ido's Pocket looked a little bit out of practice, but I think part of it is that Ido's been playing a lot of Mina recently, so I think it may be higher priority for Melee Creeps to just have Ido on the Mina just by virtue of the fact that Ido's a lot hotter on Mina right now.
Hey, ZP, is your dad Paul Bunyan?
No, where's this going?
Babe, you're looking like a blue ox. We got to jump into this game. We've got Sneaky Golem taking on Melee Creeps. We got a flaccid ZP and a very excited Uber Shouts with a divot on his forehead, thanks to the crown. What a day. It's the holidays. Make sure you got stocked up on candy. Big shout out to Trolli, who supported us with $20,000 over the last 2 weeks to give out to our competitors. And of course, to Intel. This is our 12th episode of the night shift. Intel's been around for the last 10, handing out 20K of their own. Sneaky Golem, no stranger to cashing checks. Can they earn another one? They're one game away. Divot Head, take it away.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've got to now wait for it to reinflate my forehead. Hopefully 30 minutes should about do it. Melee Creep, Sneaky Golem, what do you guys think? Let's start from the beginning. Let's talk lane assignments here as we jump into this game. It's actually Haze and Shiv going to be on that left side of the map. Page will be grouped up with the Yamato in mid. And of course, we've got this Calico Mina lane. Of course, both heroes, ZP on the Melee Creep side in mid, so good at going in, trading, and getting out, ideally scot-free.
Page Yamato is an ugly lane. If you've laned against this, you actually realize how painful it is to go against, because part of what keeps Yamato in check is that she's not going to hit every power slash because she's trying to go from angles where she doesn't need too much poke damage in turn. Well, when you pair up with a Page, Page just shields you, and you go out in the open and go for Power Slash without a care in the world, and it's actually way harder to dodge around the Power Slash pressure when you're backed up by a Page, just because of how reckless Yamato can play and get away with it.
Yeah, it is. It's just harder to punish that Yamato. You want to poke Yamato down ideally, so you can't go for the risky Power Slash lines. This positioning from Fishcake, though, certainly implies a level of aggression. At least he's trying to tease Yamato in their direction. Gloom Bombs got nerfed slightly, but they are still a bit more consistent to hit than they ever were. So definitely one of the parts of Calico's kit that is spammable and super annoying. You see their cooldown is ultra low. Melee life still picked up, so as soon as we get that leaping slash online, there's going to be a sustained component stapled to it for the Calico.
Look at some of the other lanes here. Holiday Abrams is interesting because you still get a lot of good poke damage from the Holiday, but the ability to go in and punish is limited, even if the Abrams is playing defensive, because if you outstep versus an Abrams, you get charged and things go really bad. I don't know if they're going to get kills immediately, but it is a lane that's going to be hard to lose, I think, if you're melee creeps.
Here's the Rake. Shield comes in a little late on AVG, so that is confirmed damage that Ido's been able to inflict. The persistent pressure of the Yamato right click, though, is still going to be experienced even when you're trying to buy from the store. Obviously, extra regen must pick up here for Yamato, as she's not the most powerful ranged hero. Nice Crimson Slash on the 2! Oh my goodness, the damage here in lane for AVG has been solid now. They've taken a pretty healthy bit of damage themselves back, but they're going to be able to buy another tier 1 here. Ideally something that, yep, lends itself to sustain. Healing right now joins the extra regen to make this Yamato, well, let us stay around a little bit longer.
Really good poke coming out between Ido and Fishcake in the middle to, even with the Page, force Yamato to do double green item buy in the beginning. This is the point where you would love to get a little bit more damage instead, but sometimes having HP is the best way to continue harassing. Still have the Page shield up, looking for the punish now on the Fishcake, as Fishcake dashing in and around, I think just barely gets out of that one.
That is gross. You are right. This lane is absolute filth. And AVG is able to come forward with a level of impunity that you would not otherwise expect, as you know, Yamato doesn't hate it getting fire rate as well if that barrier is going to be invested into further. But yeah, Page really designed to supercharge those very powerful early laning heroes and then take that utility, spread it around the map in those team fights properly. So Fishcake had to go back for health. They're going to return now, but this is obviously going to come at the cost of some of this wave potentially and damage on the Guardian. Power Slash hits Ido now, has to make use of that Sanguine Retreat. They were hoping to harass the Page down while AVG wasn't looking, but Big Brother is home and he's got eyes everywhere. Now, Hydration has to really start to hot foot it though. Look at the juke there, hits the parry. It's a little bit too late as Fishcake slaps him down, takes out the Page and tries his best to ignore a very angry Yamato.
Also, the elemental lane of the right, the Ice and Fire, has actually been landing pretty well between the Kelvin and Furnace. Guardian down the half HP, Pocket and Ivy just kind of hanging on. You know, not a lane that I think you can go super aggro in because of the burst potential of the Pocket, but one where you're just making beneficial trades onto the creep wave and getting good damage onto the Guardian.
It's like a value setup, right? I just feel like you're trading better in almost every case. DMB can be aggressive, get afterburn stacks built up because the sustain offered by Frost Grenade. It seems like it's in the longer lane, it's kind of really bloody annoying to play it. We're on the left side here, though. This is the Abrams and Holiday lane. We're up against Shiv and Haze, and it's been a little quiet from them, of course, but farm-wise, of course, they've been staying in step, but you see that early aggressive potential that the Abrams lane can put out, definitely paying off. Oh dear, Nox Nostra accounts for AVG, and obviously Hydration. If you lose the Yamato, you have nothing to fight for as Page.
You'll just sit back and continue throwing out some slow Page shots and
continue having souls denied. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, effectively, yes. Also, the right-hand side, look at, is this going to be a turn into the right-hand side? Usually you don't get lanes, but I think it's just for buff right now. Where,
yeah, buffs up in
Fishcake.
1 second.
Yep.
Survival is nice. So that is headed into the clutches. But now the mid Guardian's down to half here. So these little excursions for Fishcake have been punished on occasion. Now, though, more sustain is nice. You can take more of those trades with survival. Buff! Captivating Read. You've got to be careful. It's pretty easy to underestimate the range of that ability. Fishcake, though, not affected by it. Still, this wave keeps getting shoved in under them. Cold Front now at the ready. This is definitely going to supercharge the 1-2 punch, the trading potential that you have with this Calico, and your chase down also gets pretty good.
I actually think laning against the Calco for while this vitality buff is up is going to be nothing but hell for the other side. It's so much poke that you're going to have to deal with, where Fishcake is going to dive in, look for trades, and the regen is going to make it absolutely fine. This is a very painful next 2 minutes or so, so long as you don't go too wild with it. I mean, you can look right now on your screen. That is a ton of regen, probably the best early buff you can get.
It's sick, actually. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Movement is nice to have as well, but you're not really moving around the map too much. You just want to hang around in lane. So this oppressive right side lane, kind of delivering on the promise that was made when we see Infernus and Kelvin picked together and sent this way. It's a Guardian for them. So mid Guardian's been, worked on a little bit by melee creeps, so decent position in general. Now, how do they take this small early advantage and turn it into something more? We're going to have some creeps snapped up here in contested territory. Obviously, Infernus is one of the best at clearing these camps rapidly. The cloak is thrown through, though, so a warning shot fired up by Rokane, but I think DMB is going to help himself to those souls regardless. And that mid-guardian will come down. Fishcake might want to try and fight for it. Return for Shadows, though, not at the ready.
Something happened in middle order looking at other lanes where even with the vitality buff, just presence was lost between Fishcake and Ido. I assume Ido, okay, looking where Ido is, Ido just got forced out, so that's a little bit difficult. Even if you have vitality, you're not going to be too impactful on the 1v2, but now your lane opponents are a little bit drained on HP, and you go, we're just going to even up the Guardian immediately, so we'll see if they get punished for it. They should be able to get the Guardian at a minimum.
It's a big investment, though, elsewhere. Melee creeps lose their lane is pretty heavily on the left side of the map, if I'm not mistaken. Retreat here needs to be used for Ido, and of course, perfectly pathing into the jump pads now. That's the change in the game. If you are hit just after jumping off a pathing, 0.6 seconds, something like that, you do get stunned up. So there is counterplay, opportunities to chase the Mina down, but looks like to the rescue comes Saya.
Ido, movement god, getting out of a situation that most people would fall in. Rocker, caught in the crossfire. Off here on the left-hand side, and it's just the overload where Calco gets middle and then just goes, I'm going to help you out on left, and a little bit of a headshot towards the end of the goober.
Not too shabby. This is a better start here for melee creeps, but more to be done. No, first things first. Guardian cleared up. The Conjured Dragon is going to burn John down pretty low in hydration. Hit the shot! My God! No, he's got some other issues to deal with now. Last wall jump attempt here, but careful of the stun on the jump pad. He thinks twice about it, but instead, happy to have gained some altitude and have the chance to fall back to the safety of Rokane.
I think if you compare this game to last game, though, this has been a lot better for melee creeps. They still have all the upside of the Kelvin. They have a little bit less upside on the late game, but if they don't fall significantly far behind, I still kind of prefer their comp, especially as you start getting the urn, if they can apportion their ults in a proper way.
Okay, here comes Sneaky Golem, and I think John has to have a sixth sense about this. 3 heroes grouped up on this left side of the map to try and push this Guardian down. The reprisal, though, will be swift in mid. Melee creeps looking to pressure down. Scout, though, is off the map, but it hasn't slowed their macro aspirations down whatsoever. This Guardian, though, is not worth fighting for, and so we'll see John head back to base.
Sneaky Golem picking up another Guardian. Still one more left to go on the right-hand side. So melee creeps can hold on to that. Meanwhile, in contrast, melee creeps have gone down every Guardian so far. So melee creeps looking slightly better here off the early game.
Yeah, being kept off that select slot. Sneaky Golem. Just at this point, trying to secure their sinners and not have them taken away. The game not nearly as swingy as it was last time. So, securing one's own sinners is a must do, of course, to stay in step. And that is going to be achieved quite comfortably. Now that we're starting to look towards some of these more power spiky items, we're going to start to see some of these tier 3s make their way into individual inventories. Hydration and League having the most souls on Sneaky Golem is it's not the worst, but certainly would like to see those allocated more in like Rocker, Rokane's direction, AVG as well. And speaking of tier 3s, first one for John. Colt Sack has been picked up at 951. Not too bad.
And in overall, the build is just the standard holiday gun build with the early Mystic Shot and the Battle Vest, Cult Sack, and kind of expect John to focus more on gun items as we move forward. And buffs come up. Quick little snatch of the gun buff by Scout. And now this is a big change, Mitch, relative to the last game where Urn Control is going to go the way of melee creeps. They weren't able to get Urn Control at all, not a single time last game. Now they have control of the Urn and they have a Kelvin with a dome to use it. This is a far better situation, one that's a lot more difficult for Sneaky Golem to deal with.
Trying to Shadows used there. I think AVG was looking for a piece of fish cake there. DMB instead is going to go down. That is Goober. That's not where you want to see that action happen. This is going to be the loss of that last Guardian now on this right-hand side of the map. Somehow, DMB just maybe unaware of what was intended for him there. So melee creeps were trying to set things up for a safe earn turn in, but this seems to be anything but. Sire thinks to chance it, but straight away sees the page, and now there's a bullet dance, so looking to get the heck out of there. A lot of damage being taken. Rokan on the chase. Somebody's got to help Sire at some point. Frozen Shelter needs to be used here. This is just to stay alive. There's no kill potential, but Arctic Beam is going to make it harder for Rocker to do his thing. AVG is down. Now, hold Rocker in place is the plan for Sire. Make it hard for that shift to escape. Now is a thought at the back of these players' minds. They are focused on the job at hand. Rocker stunned up as he hits that jump pad. That change is going to mess players up a couple times, and eventually he is going to bleed on down. That is a holiday kill credit, and Sire eventually gets that earn turned in.
Huge difference from one game just by virtue of having control of the urn. Even with the pressure there, Sneaky Golem end up kind of overextending a little bit to interrupt the urn. You get your Shiv stuck in the frozen dome while the rest of his team is just kind of getting hunted down on the outside. It's still a really nice fight for melee creeps. And yeah, overall, I mean, only 3k difference between both teams, but melee creeps now have full control of their own jungle. They have opportunities to engage a little bit deeper in the enemy jungle. And also, when Spirit Lasso is up, they have a pretty big edge in initiation here, where Sneaky Golem is really relying on the initiation of Haze going in, landing a dagger, and then getting fall through up thereafter. And at mid game, this is the point for Haze to shine, but it's still a harder setup than just being able to run up and lasso someone.
And goes Goober. Catch there is decent, but it's on Scout, one of the tankier targets, albeit less souls in Scout's pocket than his contemporaries. And as a result, the Abrams is a little squishy. There's a pick off here. Ido also suffering some level of scrutiny, but Sneaky Golem have found back-to-back a couple of nice picks. First, it was DMB, of course, on the right side of the map. That results in a Guardian take. This time, Scout is locked onto. So Goober does have the ability to secure these engagements. That slowing Hex, sleepy dagger combo.
So if melee creeps have it in them to turn the tables, Lasso now up, but you look at where John is on the map, it's more of a farming run here. And you look at the build, I think it may have been Lightbringer that kind of came up with this initial Gun Holiday build. Like, he was most famously used on Hoot in recent times, but it is exactly the same as Hoot build so far. You grab stamina, grab active reload, and if it stays the form, next item that you're going to see from John probably going to be Hollow Point.
Yeah, obviously someone who wants to sit back and not get too involved, and Hollow Point works pretty well on all those backline-oriented heroes who have that higher amount of health. Size Arctic Beam there, questing for a Sneaky Golem player to slow on down, but they definitely kept themselves at arm's length. There's some sinners here to take on the Sneaky Golem side of the map. Elsewhere, you can see melee creeps probing on the left. There's not really much to fight for, though, in that part of the jungle, outside of just shoving lane and getting Walker, but they might be setting up for a catch on League.
3 members of blue and 1 lone gargoyle on the left-hand side. Bare minimum, it's going to be some damage onto the walker, but could be the pick and more.
Same on the right, though.
Rocker's thinking the same on the right, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's hearing John clearing camps, and here we go. Try and get out. Just a sneaky little dagger stuck in there, nothing more. But Goober's the one you want to watch in terms of those initiations, and Sire looks like they got slowed up for a time, but no, they finally picked up League. That's on the left-hand side of the map. That means the Walker's going to be taken instantly there by melee creeps. This is dangerous. DMB would like to get away from this. Sire's in trouble. Frozen Shelter, though, will elongate this fight, prolong it, and allow for Frost Grenade rotations to keep him in the fight. This is now getting a little bit dangerous for AVG. Low, he is. Rallying Charge going to be thrown out by Hydration, though, and has to be a hard escape for John. Gonna be difficult to avoid these shots coming in. Hydration, little engine that could just chugging away with those daggers, catches out the Holiday. But AVG has fallen. They were looking for revenge on that left side of the map. Now there's an opportunity for Ido, but they're outnumbered. In a 1 versus 2, Sire still coming back off a zip line, and he's too slow to get to the fight. No opportunity to turn it around.
Also, overall, really good trades here for melee creeps, where both teams end up trading out with each other, but the one team that walks away with the walker, Mitch, is melee creeps. Melee creeps got what they want on the left-hand side, the quick assassination on the League with the finish onto the walker, and Sneaky Golem, they end up in this long fight where they get Frozen Shelter, and the Frozen Shelter has just enough health to keep Sai out of killing blow range, extend things out even more, and while you're fighting away from the walker, it's not taking any damage, and yeah, you get a few trade outs, but it's just nowhere near the value that melee creeps got on the opposite side of the map.
A sick value trade yet again from melee creeps, macro gods that they are. DMB really want to be here right now. Sire has just joined him, and Abrams is going to be in position. There is potential for a fight, but you don't have a lot of catch potential here. Brocane looking to throw down, but slightly outnumbered is Fishcake and John. Just they're the goon squad here, basically stuffing him into a locker. And that's obviously the 14k soul pocket neutralized.
Mitch, you got to appreciate the thud sound for every quick melee that's going in there, where you're not only hiding in the veil, but you're hearing thunk, 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 thunk. And that's a hyperline. That is a hyperline and a death is what that is.
That is brutal. Scout just blown to smithereens there. Nothing he could quite do. Haze is the last thing you want to see in those cases. This earn turn is $3.99, folks. Sire going to get that one locked away. And this puts melee creeps up by 10k. Now, I'm going to say that Walker difference certainly makes an impact. They're being contested right now. I don't know how easy this is going to be to defend on the right-hand side of the map. I think it's really only DMB that is there for the time being, so it's dangerous. Here in the mid, though, there's some pressure to be put down. You get your split screen for you, folks. I have Rocker going to work on that Walker. It looks like Fishcake doesn't really have that same idea in mind. It is the right side Walker of melee creeps picked off. So what do they get for this? There's always a catch if you're melee creeps and you're losing the objective. I want to see it here.
What about mid boss? If you get a pick here, if you're able to take down Rocker, he's going to die right near middle. You have real mid boss opportunity if you're able to finish this off, if you're able to stop him from jump padding away. The stun comes in one more time. The fall through is all around here, Mitch, but maybe able to take some cover by the Walker.
Taking that lead damage over time from the Holiday, but somehow Rocker was able to get away. Now, how quickly can he get topped up? Don't know if he has Hyperline at the ready. Hurricane is 16k, League at 20, so that gun Ivy's starting to become relevant. They're going to come online soon, and definitely want to try and be in fights at the moment if they can. It's a Walker loss, though, for melee creeps, and they actually can't extract any value on their side. So both teams have uncontested Walker losses back-to-back, but it's still an 11k soul difference.
Yeah, I think the one upside for melee creeps and giving up their walkers that it kind of happened at the same time they got earned. It wasn't directly a one-to-one trade, but it was close enough that internally they're probably just like, okay, we gave Walker, we got earned, we still get a little bit of extra souls. It's still very much within the realm that Sneaky Golem can evenly fight, but it's kind of unnoticed where, you know, effectively one team fight down. But if you could get Ido right here, it'd be huge off the sleep.
Sanguine. That's going to be enough. Ido can get away, but you've got to watch out for Goober, and you really don't have any walking when it is the haze that is playing to catch people out. You don't have great lockdown potential outside of that. It's just Stone Idol, really. The only other CC plus rallying charge, but sometimes the slowing hex hit off the sleeping dart is all, rather the sleep dagger is all you need. Mid Walker. That's where the fight's happening right now. Buffs up in a minute 45, so nothing else really to fight for except for these big objectives. Let's see how it plays out. He's a slice and dice in Side's direction. Rocker going to be knocked aside, though. Doesn't really fancy being in this kind of fight. We'll have to drop on down, taking a lot of afterburn damage. My God, half of the health of the Shiv goes away to the Infernus. Rocker doesn't quite have the souls to just shrug that off.
No, not at all. Sometimes the best course of action is to go back and get a little bit of healing at base. The Heal Bane being picked up by Scout in turn, and melee creeps able to flex their advantage a little bit here. You see them being a little bit more willing to be aggressive, going to the Sneaky Golem, and I think Sneaky Golem right now, Mitch, they're really acutely feeling the lack of a traditional playmaker here. Like, Goober's been able to make a few plays here and there, but you have to work a lot harder to make it happen with Haze than you do with one of the more upfront playmakers as Frozen Shelter goes down.
Okay, well, it's the catch, it looks like. Yeah, DMB going to be in position now. Nice little start off the concussive combustion, but there will be damage coming back their way. Rocker low, they're bullying the Shiv, man, going after him again and again. And that is all 6 players of melee creeps involved in that elimination. They are grouped up and ready to throw down, and Page simply does not have the mobility to escape. Melee creeps, blood in the water. They taste it, and they are going after the jugular. Now, still presence inside this jungle. AVG at least able to get up to the rooftops now, but this damage is going to keep coming. I don't think there's a good escape here for the Yamato whatsoever. AVG aware of that, attempts a parry, but it's a token attempt at best. Now, eyes on League in mid, up to 25k souls, but on his own will still be a tasty morsel. Gooby here to disrupt, catches Scout out, and does a bit more damage than he otherwise would have expected. That'll shut down the chase, but mid boss is certainly on the menu.
And also, good news, Hydration's just spawning. Bad news, Hydration still isn't going to have rallying charge. We'll see what form of contest comes up here. You can stone form onto the point, but Sneaky Golem, this would be risky if they decide to go in.
Surely you don't bother for this. Rejuve credits handed out. 1, 2, and 3 to melee creeps. Now a soul lead of 19k. Urn's going to be your next location. Sneaky Golem still happy to try and fight for this, but they will be locally outnumbered over that Urn pickup location. They may not be aware of it. It's going to be a 4v2 for them with the rest of their team licking their wounds, so they can't afford to pick it up. Fortunately for them, the right wave is pushed in Amberside's favor. That is going to give them a bit of a buffer and allow them to at least set up to fight for it.
You don't love this if you're Sneaky Golem. This is one of the ugliest spots to be in all of Deadlock, where you're down 20,000 souls and the other team has rejuve. Melee creeps can just go for the rejuve fight, especially with the Kelvin, and they're fine. Like, they can sacrifice the entirety of Frozen Shelter to turn and earn and then fight against Sneaky Golem after, because they're still not going to lose the fight with 3 rejuvenators. This is such a tough spot to be in. I think if you're Sneaky Golem, realistically, you don't want to fight Earn. Earn fight probably ends badly. You're trying to get a trade, and you look at how they're positioned on the map, Mitch. That's exactly how they're playing it.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, they don't want to fight directly, but they know they can extract some value here. You cannot defend this on your own if you're just the Holiday. John knows it. Doesn't have the clear. So this is totally reasonable. But if they lose their right side Walker and lose the Earn, that's obviously not where they want to be. And I don't think they're in position to protect it either. So it ends up being Earn take, Walker trade, favoring melee creeps, keeping them with a nose in front. But apparently we're not done. Base Guardians now being looked at. Melee creeps, though, have a similar idea, but they're sending back some of their forces at least to properly contest this. Still, Base Guardians are Base Guardians, and they have a soul value attached to them now, though it's time to back away. Sneaky Golem beating a hasty retreat. Melee creeps might not let them get away with this. There is, of course, a lasso here for John to catch a straggler if possible. And now the shrines are starting to be hammered down here in the Amber base.
I think for Sneaky Golem, this is almost all they could do in this situation. If they had sent everyone the Earn, they don't get a Walker, and they probably lose Walker and Earn anyways. But now, off the movement, they get the drain, a Rejuve Crystal, maybe get the kill right on after. Looking to see if they can keep DMB vulnerable. In on the chase down, the killing blow gets it. And that is enough to at least buy a little bit of room for the rest of the Rejuve. Yes, you're still behind, but it could be so much worse.
Yep. Yeah, the 1-for-1 there is acceptable, even if not great. It's not really furthering your game plan, though. It's keeping you in the game, and there's a pretty important difference between those two concepts. It's going to be a Walker loss now. As of course, you'd expect melee creeps to start to flex their soul lead, and also the implied soul advantage that those Rejuve credits gives them in terms of fire rate, of course. And MS around the map. Sinner's also going to be gobbled down, so Sneaky Golem can't fight for these realistically unless they can group. Ado definitely has his spider senses tingle, though, and he was correct. Sneaky Golem were encroaching.
The timing there was very precise in the end, where going for the enemy Sinners when people are backing up at the end of a Rejuve push, there's a lot of times, as anyone who's done any amount of pubbing would know, that you go for that and your timing is off, and Rejuve or no, you get jumped on by 4 people, and it's not good, because the double vault is going to be one of the very first places you check as you look to reestablish control of your jungle. Also because it's one of the places that you want to farm when it's up. So it's a common area to guess where people are going to be, and usually you're right. So when you go to steal on the back end of a push, you know you're just on an incredibly limited timer.
Yeah, your window shuts pretty darn quickly. I mean, worth pointing out, the Ivy is getting pretty strong capacity here. I'll see that Fortitude is quite a powerful item and is joined by the Leech there. So definitely getting into a good spot. League is at 32k souls, definitely outstripping anybody on melee crypt side. So it's, in terms of their mandate to get farmed up and be impactful, they're almost there. The flex slot issue is one that will need to be remediated, but you can see, of course, this Ivy pretty adept at taking down these high tier camps.
Sneaky Golem still in a pretty tough spot overall, a 30k deficit between them and melee creeps. And also, don't forget how we kind of kicked off the game and talking about the importance of Kelvin. Well, fighting Kelvin while even is a pain. Fighting Kelvin, whose team is 30k ahead, is a nightmare and a de facto death sentence for anyone who gets caught in a frozen shelter with any degree of help. So the ability for melee creeps in these fights to simply run at Sneaky Golem, drop a dome, and win is pretty high. But then to add insult to injury, melee creeps have a comp that has Spirit Lasso. Sneaky Golem, they have Sleep Dagger and Prey, which is more effective than you might think, but not at the same level at all.
Rocker accosted here up atop the buildings, forced to give up the fight though. Scalp would like to chase them on down. Hydration might be a juicier target to go for. Seismic is good. Stone Idol has to be used in response. League can definitely have impact in this fight. They got good items on him, and Scout's finding that out the hard way. AVG runs him down. That's the first pick here for Sneaky Golem, but Rocker seen better days. Definitely focused down as per usual. It's always been the lash first on the menu in this game. AVG caught out by the edge of the concussive combustion. Power Slash hardly puts a dent on DMB, and it's a dirty parry as AVG is silenced up. Counterspell used, but Shadow Transformation comes arguably too late in the day. No chance to make use of that buff. And here come melee creeps once again. It's a 3-for-2 exchange, and Hydration might be next. It's going to be tough for the Page to put some distance in between himself and the Mina. And Ido plays with his food. Captivating read doesn't quite connect as Ido's really not into that kind of fan fiction. Goob will try and back away. Sleep Dart to try and slow down this Mina, but that shrine is all but gone. And Patron will be next.
I think the heartbreaking thing for Sneaky Golem, they had a good engage on the timing right as Rejuve is done. They get the early pick, but the difference between the two teams is just too significant at this point. You need an even better engage. We don't really have the tools for Sneaky Golem to find it. I mean, yeah, you blow up one person there. It's about as good as you're going to get, but you have no avenue to disengage. Saya comes on in, is able to lock things down. And now mid-boss is up in 35 seconds where melee creeps are so far ahead here, Mitch. They could pull an EU. They could just go in on mid-boss with no picks, wait for the scream, and then go for the engage after. And for Sneaky Golem, you have to respect the scream, and you're not going to be able to get out in time before Saya's able to jump on you and drop dome. Like, this is a really, really difficult situation for Sneaky Golem to play that frankly requires some level of misplay from melee creeps that have any real chance, but it may just go down unearned first if they decide to contest.
Oh, AVG runs into a bit more oppression than he otherwise expected. Saya, though, just gets the urn turned in. There might still be a catch on the Yamato on the backside of this. AVG is so low, man. That's it. I mean, that's the game right there. I know he's trying to clear some of the map, but it's tough to come back from these. That is 3 down. Frozen Shelter really seems superfluous at this point, but Goober will, regardless, shiver himself to death. There's still base guardians on this left side of the map, so that'll be cleaned up. But Patron, as you recall, has already been knocked and is in the pit and is awaiting a hearty spanking. Here's the E-shift from Fishcake there, but just wants to continue to go to work on said Patron. There will be some backup now, and with only 2 players on the map, the Ivy and the Page, Sneaky Golem are going to have to give it up. I told you, folks. People mad in the chat about the melee creeps glazing. They have made it a 3-game affair here in our money match.
Whoa! We're going to a game 3. Both regions tonight, we are in for some special deadlock. Abram ZP, did you see a game 3 coming at the start of this draft? Was it a team fight? What took us the distance?
Yeah, I saw game 3 coming. Melee creeps is good enough that I think to just cleanly 2-0 them is pretty difficult, and doing it 2 weeks in a row even more so. Also, I think you can only give a team Kelvin so many times before they remember how to build a good Kelvin comp and whack you across the face with it. So I don't know for Sneaky Golem. I think maybe they're still so terrified of the Bebop they banned it again, but I don't love giving up Kelvin, and this game gave us a lot of reasons as to why you don't want to do it.
I knew that Rocker was going to be on Shiv. I was wondering who was going to play the pocket as it went to Rokane, and somebody in chat pointed out that the Calico is kind of just a pocket counter. Can you explain that?
I mean, I think you have the ability to like play around those cooldowns. You have a lot of invulnerability frames, obviously with your return to shadows. And also, as soon as you see that barrage activated, it's like really easy to avoid. So I think it's tough for Pocket to get that damage amp in general. I guess you can shrug off the affliction to some degree. But I just think like the ability to trade back and forth in lane without going for like these long fights is a boon to the Calico.
There's a perfect example. Well timed there, chat. All right, let's walk through some of the big moments here from Mina and friends. Melee creeps walking away with the dub in game 2. ZP, who had the best performance in this game in particular?
I think, best performance overall may have just been DMB being super solid on the Infernus from beginning to end, or Saya with the domes. But to me, the most improved was Ido. I think, again, it may be sacrilege to say this given the history, but Ido on Pocket right now, not as impressive as Ido on Mina, which has clearly been one of his biggest comfort picks. If I had to go to other factors in the draft other than the Kelvin that really put this over the top for melee creeps, it's the fact they were able to secure the Mina. It's really good for Ido right now. The second part is that I think when you play Playmaker chess in the beginning and you ban the Bebop, you of course can't pick the Bebop later. And the ban of the Paradox from melee creeps was brilliant because they had the intel that Sneaky Golem doesn't like playing the Holiday. So for Sneaky Golem, I think you either need to play the Holiday or you got to give up the Bebop ban, because doing both has caught you with your pants down.
We might see a robot in the game 3. Do you give John the opportunity? If not, the holidays seem to pay off. Welcome Micah, as he is here at the best time of the stream. Don't worry, Micah, if you missed any of the action, we've got a YouTube channel over at youtube.com/Deadlock Night Shift. Simply rewind, enjoy the stream in its fullness. For now, though, let's walk through the highlights. I see a whole lot of highlighters on DMB's names. Uber, what did this Infernus do?
Yeah, look, I mean, importantly, you can see that objective damage is pretty sky high. So DMB is, spending time in side lanes, farming them up. You also notice, like, in lane, a pretty powerful combo with the Kelvin. We talked about how maybe underwhelming the Sire Kelvin was in the previous game. It had a lot to do with the lane assignment. The fact that that lane assignment never got into a meaningful mid game where Kelvin's oppressive nature could be expressed. But here, the Infernus, who doesn't always look to fully commit on some of those early fights, can do that. There's a lot of sustain for the Infernus, which means they can overstay in those trades and get even more of those afterburn triggers. It's really annoying to play against an Infernus that's playing like that level of cockiness, because you're always like burning down, and it delays your regen, and it also is just hard to have sustain. So yeah, pretty scary stuff. Great farm. I also thought League was a contender if things went better for Amber's side to be super relevant on that Ivy. Is 30k, 35k is where you want to be to really start popping off, but it was not to be.
Chat, what was your favorite Uber bar? In that one, I have to say, was probably the Paige versus Mina fight. He says, what, the captivating read? Nah, Mina's not into that fan fiction. Uber on the mic, you get another round coming your way in game 3. We're going to a break. We're going to let our producer pee for the first time in 4 hours. On the other side, though, ZP, why should everyone stay on this stream?
Well, because it's going to map 3, and between these two teams, you never know what quite may happen. It's going to be a good one. Both teams are going to adapt. We'll see which one comes on top once more here in North America.
Now rub your
out on top.
On the way out.
Comes out on top.
Yeah,
I'm rubbing the horns.
Comes on top. No. Comes out on top. Yes.
This just keeps going on. The production's just leaving us out here. They didn't like the P joke. Okay, I'm done. Production, please end this farce.
Where's my hat?
Where is your hat?
I just saw AVG get parried the shit into a game 3. We got Uber and ZP on the mic ready to rock a round 3. And Zeepers, how excited are you to shower tonight and just see the blue goo rinse off that very creamy body of yours?
Actually, incredibly excited. I've thought about it multiple times of going, okay, show's over, immediately into the shower to wash up.
Nah, bros, we're not on the graveyard shift. You know it.
Oh, we are doing graveyard shift. I need to book a guest, actually. That's what I gotta do. I need a guest.
TBD graveyard shift on this special edition. We used all of our brain power on how to do our own makeup. Uber, you and I have given up on our outfit. ZP, he is committed. He does not take off this winter jacket in game, out of game. He has been cooking it on the mic. How do you feel about the competition?
I mean, it's been good. I told you guys. I mean, it's been good. Melee, Sneaky Golem giving us a 3-gamer this time around. They've been kind of sweeping each other back and forth. And look, I think we've, tweaked things on Melee Creep's side, right? To have just a bit of a better early game. And you can see what a team that's so good at the macro can do if they can come out of at least, one of those lanes ahead, if not more than them. So yeah, this is where they're at their strongest. Just got to tighten that draft up, and I think they'll be sorted. Sneaky Golem, this time without the Paradox, I think hurts them more than, we maybe sort of talk about. So that first ban Paradox, I think, might still need to find its way into the strategy for Melee Creeps.
ZP, give John the Bebop. That's the gamble, right?
I think you probably should give John. Well, okay, the Sneaky Golem is taking first pick, so that actually changes it. Sneaky Golem can now ban Bebop and not have to play against Kelvin at the same time. However, they ban Holidays, so...
Oh, that forces a Paradox ban.
Yes, or for Melee Creeps, they have to leave Paradox open, and Sneaky Golem is going to get with first pick, but that also means Melee Creeps can get... They would get, like, Bebop Kelvin there, so...
Give them Kelvin or Paradox, yeah.
If they ban Kelvin, then Sneaky Golem is going to pick either Bebop or Paradox, but then Melee Creeps gets the one they don't ban. But instead, they ban Yamato, so there's a ton of premium picks up here. Bebop is going to get played one way or another, and so is a Kelvin. This is actually wild.
Are we just hating on AVG? What is?
Yeah,
this is such an aggressive ban. Wow. Okay, dude.
Time for an
yeah. Okay. Kelvin Bebop. Give it to John. Or do you have to give up the shiv to do this? That's kind of cringe.
You can run both. I actually think you Bebop Paradox here. Yeah, I think you Bebop Paradox now that the Kelvin is off. Like, yes, you don't necessarily
Sire Paradox.
It'd be good. Yeah.
I like Sire Paradox.
So you
Guys, cracked. Shiv.
Okay,
was the one we didn't really consider. Yeah, that's fine. But you are still like you. So if you either get the Paradox or the Bebop here and then ban the other potentially, and you're probably okay with that. Then we actually get past this murderous first phase pick and ban. It is very tricky, but you just got to be careful. You are allowing Sneaky Golem, of course, to add to their roster still.
It was
They're going to get one of them. Paradox it is. I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So Goober obviously completed Viscous, completed Bebop pretty effectively. It's something you'd like, wouldn't hate to ban out. But because Sneaky Golem have been banning Bebop, I think they've been happy enough like not securing that for themselves. Or something, we could have something even more random, like take Bebop here.
There's the bop.
The upside in draft economy, they don't have to go with a Viscous pick or ban now per se, because Sneaky Golem, I think they were only going to do Viscous if Goober was playing it in all likelihood. So, I mean, it is in their hero pool if they want, but I think for melee creeps, they're seeing as less of prio. Probably looking for Infernus if it survives this final pick, which is less likely. Okay, Infernus. You can
still play the Mo here. You can still put hydration on that if you feel like you want to have something alongside this Bebop engage. It's just, it feels like it's fallen off a little bit in terms of pick prio.
That Bebop call was wild. Not only did ZP see it coming, Megs 1300 saw it coming. Big shout out to Wander, who said John Holiday, so mighty.
He's good.
I'll say this, if melee creeps don't ban Mo here, they are picking Mo 100%. You do not give Mo Bebop of all combos to Sneaky Golem. If they do, that is, I'm
with the Kelvin
right now, put all your points on Golem if that happens. But I don't think melee creeps is going to let it happen.
Does John play Paradox at all? Do we know?
Not that sure. I've seen in recent memory. I mean, it's kind of interesting that he went Holiday where he's expanding out his like playmaker pool, which is good as far as roles go. But for Paradox, I would probably expect it to be Saya, which means for a John hero, if you're a Sneaky Golem, maybe you ban the Geist. Because you know that... Okay, yep.
Bingo, we are on the pulse here. Nicely done. So what then will John turn to in lieu of that? Can he play Mirage?
That would be good.
Yeah.
Bad universe would be Warden. Like that.
Lick it.
Why? I mean, it's just...
we gotta get off this show.
It's crazy.
Calico. Hey, welcome in. Hey, what else is going down?
All right. Yeah, the Fish Cake Calico. Right? I'm reading this correctly. Yeah, that's obviously good. I mean, we saw that banned by melee creeps, so they couldn't secure it, but I think this is super nice. Super nice here.
Pocket.
I like the laning. I just like the melee creeps laning. Okay. Mirage taken away.
Why is
How deep is that pool, John?
Because they're just absolutely mauling John's hero pool and going, John, pick the Warden, John. You know you want to pick the Warden. Uber will put the hat back on if you pick the Warden, John.
I'll refresh the forehead indent like it's a gem socket to unlock my sense of humor. Yo!
What?
Bro, this is literal. This is racist against John,
Here's
bro.
The Warden.
This is actually wow. This is hate of unprecedented levels. UK police would be all over this with like an entire SWAT team at your door.
So John is that impactful of a player that they are taking all of his mains, forcing him onto Doorbro, or who else can John play?
I don't know who would. Yeah, I mean, this is curious to me. I'm really interested to see how this plays out.
Floorman chat.
Does this behoove you a sneak? Okay, so Sneaky Golem.
I've been behooved.
Might want something a little bit more durable here in this comp. Okay, Billy taking away. This might force an Abrams last pick here from Sneaky Golem, potentially. Probably just want a little bit more The Billy lane is like, I don't know what you're going to put him in. It'll be Doorman Paradox, I imagine. It could be like Billy Calico.
I think John, by the way, is on either the Doorman or the Shiv. I think it's only one of the two. I don't, just given how John has played historically, I don't think it's going to vary from those two.
Okay, so we have the Haze and Bebop. So both of Goober picks here for Sneaky Golem. So I want to see how those get distributed across their team.
In the words of the great Pious 416, a first-time chatter, goddamn, ZP on point predictions.
Good.
Well done, Zeeps.
Also, I'm going to do another prediction here. I think this is the return to the Hydration Warden because I can't imagine what else Hydration's going to play here. Maybe, like, if you go really far back in time, Hydration was the Kelvin player. But
has he ever been a Haze player?
No.
All right. Warden it is.
No, he hasn't been. And yeah, this begs the question, like, obviously we just saw Goober play the Haze and it was fine, but they didn't have any other like hard engage alongside it. Now they've got the Bebop in the mix as well, who is a very reasonable, like, this team is very big on gun damage. Just want to sort of point that out. You know, see Warden, Mirage, Bebop, Infernus. So,
by the way,
Wander says it is the gunman confirmed. John Floorman is now being spammed. ZP, turn this negativity into a positive patty place.
Yeah, I think Sneaky Golem overcooked. You had just put John into a corner and said, John, pick the Warden. You had like the devil on John's shoulder being pick Warden, who really has not been that good the last few weeks. And then you go over the top. You're like, what if we give John no picks? And then you pick the Warden yourself.
The gun Doorman has been nerfed. So like important to point out that the outgoing headshot damage for Doorman has been reduced by 25%. And also the gun bullet damage growth per boon has come down. So that gun Doorman build, I don't think can function in the same way that it used to. Like it actually got nerfed pretty heavily. And they've tried to put more spirit scaling on the call bell to encourage players into less of that gun focused build. I think in lane, probably you can still be a pain in the neck, but I don't know if you can still play it the same way. We'll have to see like how far they'd be willing to push it if so. And that's facts. No cap on a stack. Mic drop.
All right, I think the game should be ready by now. If not, we should get rid of the draft.
If you leave Puckett post-draft for more than 2 minutes, bro, like you're in for it, bro. You are in for it.
Pockett's just
like
flagged up
Did you not get enough enjoyment over the last 6 minutes of slowly selecting character icons?
Yeah, but you know, we had we had a great
with a little iPad in between breaks.
Look, I had a good time seeing John just for get kicked in the nuts over and over, you know?
I think the only reason the players are not ready for games is because we make them do the draft, then we have to sit through a draft, and we're just creating a little chaos zone where they can go like pee breaks and then get distracted on TikTok. And
you mean we allow free will to exist?
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah, we got to take away their will. Back into the games. $1,000 game will be decided right now. Sneaky Golem taking on the melee creeps. It's all about the Benjamins, baby, or the Abrams in ZP's case. Fill his horns. He's ready to go with Uber X on the mic.
Thank God it's not Uber X. That poor guy, he's got a real job now. Don't worry about that. Let's jump in, folks. Game 3 of this money match, thanks to our friends over at Intel. Can I have a thank Mr. Intel in the chat? Thank you very much. Sneaky Golem, of course, they are the ones that went for the Warden. In theory, it's a hydration pick. We want to see who's playing the Doorman and what the build is supposed to look like.
Oh,
should be...
Yeah.
Okay. John. AVG on the Warden. Hydration back to his Kelvin roots.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't be like, AVG's been the Warden player in recent memory for them. It was such a weird draft. I'm saying, I was like, wait, who's going to be on what? But yeah, this makes a lot of sense. So yeah, hydration goes all the way back in time, and Warden gets pummeled in the first 2 seconds of the game.
Did he eat a melee from the Billy? I'm not sure, but there was a call bell, of course, involved in that. And by the way, that ability is now more oppressive in that early lane, especially if you take like Mystic, you know, like any of those sort of spirit power items, because of the spirit scaling getting increased. It's so troll. I am a little bit afraid for this Haze Warden lane, ZP.
Rightfully so. I mean, Haze Warden isn't the worst lane in the world. Warden's laning got a little bit better recently, but going against Doorman early on is still rough. Doorman's laning is really good. It got even better with some of the recent changes. Well, arguably with the change of call bell spirit scaling and you're more reliant on call bell in the beginning.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
you got a headshot booster. Okay, we're doing it. So far, we're doing it anyway. Yeah, Warden also got like a base bullet damage increase, I think, plus like a very marginal tweak on the binding word radius, I want to say. It's like 1 meter or something. So it's a little bit easy to hit that ability, or rather, like if people lock down. Oh, the double call bell value is just popping off. This is so annoying for Sneaky Golem to deal with. And for the record, this is not the only lane that's actually suffering quite a lot of pressure. Look at the map right now. Look at these melee creeps players pushing up.
Wait, look at the swap. I can't tell if that's just a box run or not, but AVG is getting the business on the left.
Was there a swap? No, I mean, yeah. But
yeah, it was just a particularly long box run. But you know, changing things up may not be the worst with how this lane is going.
Tree, thanks for the Prime sub. Appreciate your support. Big shout out to everybody who has subbed over the course of today. We are at 1,362 subs. We are 138 subs from 1,500, which is amazing. So thank you for your support. Obviously, keeping the lights on here is important. Obviously, this prize money from Intel goes straight into those players' pockets. So anything you can do to help us do what we do would be appreciated.
If you got a bunch of Bitcoin, we'll take that.
Bitcoin's good. I don't discriminate.
Well,
so they're stealing camp. They're stealing this tier 1 over and over, which is, obviously not great for melee creeps. It does give this lane a nice little bit of a healthy lead. Elsewhere on the map, like, you've got to be mindful. There is still that Bebop Mirage lane there for Sneaky Golem. That's decent, right? Especially the Calico obviously can trade really well, as can the Mina Calico is just like, it's an impossible lane to sort of pin under the thumb. Here's the binding word, which will be skirted out of, though, by DMP. No lockdown for you, AVG.
The Kelvin Infernus lane is again doing some pretty good work on the right-hand side. Not maybe as much as the last game, but still kind of a threat to deal with. And, the opposition on the other end, it's been Paradox Shiv. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious what build John goes. Like, even with the headshot booster early on, sometimes you can just do headshot booster and then still go a lot of spirit on Doorman, and you just get the headshot booster for, early harass in lane, which clearly has been effective so far as we've been seeing AVG run for their life. But as the lane has developed, it's stabilized a little bit on the left-hand side.
Yeah, somewhat, for sure. Here, obviously, it is that Infernus laning with the Kelvin, so we saw how powerful it was in the hands of melee creeps in the last game, but Paradox Shiv also isn't something to sneer at. Almost saw a swap across the map there. Sire looked like they were headed towards mid, but that is not to be. And yeah, that mid lane pressure starting to make itself felt here. So, pretty much in lockstep these two teams are. It's not as if all 3 lanes on either side are dominating. Thank you, Jajawa12, for the Prime. Keep it coming, gang. Thank you so much.
Mid lane is just problematic to deal with. I mean, the upside is you got Mina, so you're not really a great target after a hook, just because you're going to be able to, retreat out of the bomb. But
oh my god, the burst!
More damage than expected there, Mitch. Like, honestly, I mean, that was an early pop Nostra, but one that kind of HP taxes in a way that, the lane pressure is going to go the way of blue.
Okay, Call Bell doing its thing as per usual. Now, it was pointed out, of course, that just a headshot booster doesn't mean you're going for gun build, but I want to suggest that long range does mean that. So that's the direction we're going in with the Doorman build. Pressure is on. Guardian, in fairness, hasn't taken that much damage. I think probably our Chemical Flask is helping a little bit with shoving the wave back and preventing these Guardians from being knocked too low, but damage is going to keep coming in. John is going to be a nuisance, and importantly, it's the tier 1 that keeps getting eaten up when it spawns.
This lane has been trouble so far, and Bolt Dance over and in takes down Rocker. Rather, Rocker tries to Bolt Dance and dies while Bolt Dancing. Just not a great scenario.
The card AVG. Okay, is able to avoid it. That's trade. Probably take those happily enough. Low though, as you are, as John, you got to be careful about zipline boosts. So just play back a little bit further. Big shout out, of course, still Primes coming. Vinny the Gooch, Altai 27, and Inifcam.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Thank you. You know me, folks.
Real quick question for you guys. So, have you thought about just how long Intel has been sponsoring us? I just did. 10 weeks is 1/5 of a year. That's 20% of 2025.
Yeah.
If you've been enjoying the Deadlock during that 20% of your year, put a thank you Intel in the chat right now. Our goal is to get a bunch of screenshots, send it over to their marketing manager so we can do more of this in 2026. Thanks again, Intel, for all of your support so far and putting money in our players' pockets.
Yeah, bro, spitting facts. It's kind of cool that we get to do this. We just sort of started out with the hope to run some tournaments, and then here we are getting big brands noticing and wanting to get involved, which is great. And it's because of you guys in the chat as well, who are legitimately and organically getting behind it. We're all about authenticity here. We don't want to dress up as big ex-TV execs ruining esports like they've been doing for the last 20 years. So
That's next Halloween, actually. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. If anyone's got like a little
Can I be Bobby?
silver fox hair, like hair wig, I'll take that. I'll look like Mike Sepso. Give me that one. Sky Lauren, thank you very much for the prime sub. Appreciate it. AVG here. Another call bell was intended for him. Is able to avoid it. It's a chain gang though. Now being thrown in. AVG thought he was LOSing that. That's not the case, but nice little alchemical flask. Will stave that melee creeps lane back. And you're right, CP. They've stabilized a bit, but elsewhere, Nox Nostra's getting thrown out. This makes you pretty vulnerable to a hook, but perhaps that was the plan for Ido, as he rakes instantly into Goober and takes a chunk of his health.
Yeah, how things have turned a bit in the mid lane. Also, speaking of lanes under pressure, back here on the left-hand side, AVG gonna fall. So does DMB, though, in turn.
Okay.
Rocker able to turn at the end. So much of a turn that it even lags our stream. That's just... What level of aura is that coming in from Rocker, is my question.
That was pretty unexpected as well, just quietly. Okay. Big couple of picks there for Stinky Golem, keeping the game interesting. No Guardians down here, but they're taking a heck of a lot of damage. Rokane has fallen, though. Goober probably doesn't have any business staying and fighting. Back to the safety of his Guardian, but for how much longer it'll provide solace? Well, that's up for debate, because it is getting very, very low. And Rocker's like, yo, I'm going to pause this. Tech pause. Okay, you can just tell us what the issue is. Mouse died. Okay. Well, presumably you can just plug that in.
Well, actually, Rocker, people don't know this, but in their previous life, they were actually Unco. They think that's Rocker from Apex Legends, but no. Unco's just, gone to the US. We're going to be here for another 2 hours.
Brilliant. Well, we got time to read out all these primes. The Waffles Man, thank you very much for the prime sub. Appreciate your support. You guys are great. No biggie if you don't have those primes, but if you do, just worth checking, once a month. They're going to refresh for you next month, so you know where to find us with those primes. Thank you guys. This is amazing. Almost 1,500 subs is ridiculous.
Kind of interesting when you look at how itemizations evolve, that one constant in pro play is you go up against Bebop, you just slam reactive barrier. Doesn't really matter or what hero you're on. Just give you the extra survivability, because it's usually not if you get hooked, it's when you get hooked, and you don't want that when to become you're guaranteed to die.
All right. Rocker here, still trying to defend this lane, but obviously with the Guardian down. And another one falling here. Scout gets a second that is in mid now. Very quick, we're going to have a fight here. I can see it. Melee Creep's trying to converge, at least on the Sinner. It is 8:57, and that Sinner was still standing somehow, inexplicably. So it looks like that one is going to be up for the taking, and AVG is aware of what's afoot, but there's not really an option. It's the trade. You see Sneaky Golem there on the right mid side of the map are also pushing up into that neutral territory, and there's no one from Melee Creeps to contest it. So might be sinners for Rokane if he's willing to take the risk. All right, here we go. Got a throwdown. Hydration's got to be careful, though. Fishsteak is able to run him down. And that also might be more Guardian damage. This is forcing Rokane to pull back without being able to steal those sinners. He needs to get into the fight. Here's Rocker. Chain gang thrown out. Rocker is a little too squishy for this. DMB trying to mix some of those bat hits in that blasted form. That's Rocker down. Someone went for a trip to the Baroness Hotel. AVG now. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave, buddy. No chance to exercise his influence in that fight.
Just when you think life as Warden can't get any worse, I should have brought this up mid-draft, but Doorman is one of the better picks against Warden. Like, even if Warden was God Warden, getting thrown into the Baroness mid-last stand is a huge vibe killer. Like, it kind of ruins a lot of your initiations, and it's also why, in terms of lane setup, putting Warden against Doorman wasn't the greatest idea. I mean, regardless of whether or not Melee Creeps angled it for or not, if they angled for it, it was really smart. Any Warden player that's played against Doorman enough knows you just don't love that interaction. It's quite bad.
Bit of a fight here over the Soul Urn. Door set up, though, to allow this one to be extracted pretty quickly, and yeah, this is pretty scary. I think if you're the Haze, Rocker's going to get away, but look who's turned up. It's Goober now. Starting to pepper John down, and the Warden throws himself into the mix. Great rotations here for Sneaky Golem. Looking to try and secure that urn take and get it turned in. Big primes are still coming in, guys. Thank you so much for that. We see you, Me Goose, Tyler on Twitch Ski, Uncle Bob, Fawnies, thank you. Hyper beam here. This is just to try and work this Guardian down and also try and offer some covering fire to that high ground. Sneaky Golem want to get more than just that urn positioning. That Guardian is going up in smoke.
Guardian on one hand, Walker on the other. Melee creeps getting serious damage onto the right side. Walker may not be getting it low enough to take it in one go, but setting the table for the next attempt as Fishcake gives his life for the amount of damage that they got.
All right. How easy is it going to be to extract this urn? John is starting to thrust straight down mid. Of course, it's just the Walker. Here comes the Billy, hit with a sleep dagger straight away. Hydration backing off. The urn has been left behind, but they want blood, not the urn. Guardian will pop a hydration, but Return of Shadows from Scout is going to ensure that the pickup on the Kelvin is ensured. John behind all of this snatched up the urn, and now you'll see melee creeps activate on that right side of the map to ensure a turn in. Here's a hook on a DMB. Not quite the target you normally want to pluck out of the mix.
I love this urn timing right now for melee creeps. You have Doorman who has good urn control to begin with. You head over for the turn in, and Kelvin isn't up, and even if he was, they wouldn't have frozen shelter. The timing could not be better for melee creeps. And also, I gotta say, on the Doorman pick, for as much dominance as you get from Kelvin on urn, Doorman is the one hero in the game that can kind of contest it via doors and actually like gives you more advantageous urn fights if you're able to get urn control at the beginning. So then the more I look back on the draft, the more I think getting Doorman was great, and forcing John onto the Doorman where he probably would have been happy to be on Geist actually may have been a bit of a blunder by Sneaky Golem.
Gonna give melee creeps permission to continue to extend this lead a little further. Okay, items go. Oh, the Spirit Snatch. Okay, so there's like a 60-second window here where Scout can try and fight, make use of this little power spike. Obviously, this is going to be where he wants to throw down and get some of these leaps in. Okay, here's a swap. There's the leap. Big damage. Hydration, not feeling that at all. So has to dome himself. This is going to buy time then for reinforcements to come. And melee creeps have to know that they're going to be outnumbered locally. Do they linger? Fishcake in trouble. AVG going to start to rain down upon him now. That's the pick off of the Shiv. And ultimately, Sneaky Golem take a 1-for-none trade. Well, for now.
I mean, you bullet dance, you try and make a little bit of room, you survive as long as you can with movement, but the odds are just stacked against you. And the question is, how much HP on this Walker did Rocker Sacrifice save? Actually, a reasonable amount. It gives time for AVG to come out, but AVG is half the character. That's a Warden coming at you. Yeah, maybe more gun build heavy, but no ult. Still not as scary as it could be.
Here's the retreat. Much like Calico, you can basically get straight. Oh my goodness, that damage coming in. Was that the Jin's Marks activating? Might have been. Either way, Ido down to 90, but has managed to clear the area, so should be able to get back to safety. Always pleasure watching the smooth schmovement from the Mina. So, soul lead shrunk a little bit, ZP. 6k at this point of the game is not the worst. Also, DMB kind of wants some amount of souls to become that sort of chunky frontliner. Fishcake also not exactly rolling in the dough either.
I think, though, some of the souls that melee creeps doesn't have, it's an investment because they're really close to getting either left or right Walker, and if they do 2 pushes at the same time, the odds are that one of them is going to work for either left or right. Like on the macro end, melee creeps is pretty significantly ahead of things at the moment, and it's up to Sneaky Golem to get a pick to get control back in the game. That may be going on left right now. Okay,
yeah, it is happening. I know you're looking for the fight. Rocker just, might be barking up the wrong tree here. Those love bites are about to proc, and when they do, it's going to be curtains for the Haze. Is there any hope of escape? No. So clean pick off here. And also think there might be more where that came from. I don't know if Rokane wants to be here necessarily. Another retreat cooldown popped. Ido, the nose. There's still a fight to be had and goes in for the pick off. 2 for none here. And that should mean it's Walker City now for melee creeps if they have the numbers to try and fight for it.
Won't be on the right-hand side, but very well could be on the left. However, those that remain for Sneaky Golem are trying to defend both. They got 2 on the right, 2 on the left, and it's AVG with the task of keeping left lane pushed up. In return, though, melee creeps is going to be able to go over, vacuum both mid buffs, and potentially get urn control to the Doorman here once more if they're not able to chase down the Infernus here. Now, the Gunman is pumping!
Dude, yeah, I mean, guys chunking. That hollow point pickup is honestly sick. All right, here comes the baggage cart. Oh, buddy, you're in trouble. Hydration now getting picked off, and the dominoes are starting to fall here for Sneaky Golem. They've suffered 2 for 0s on different sides of the map. This one, though, is allowed for an easy pickup of the urn. That one is going to be smooth sailing to get across the map. Rocker rather, can't really intervene. And that left side walker looks like it's been given up for dead. AVG cannot hang around and has to concede it.
If you're melee creeps here, you want to draw attention to the urn while getting pressure on the walker. And in this case, Sneaky Golem say we're going to save the walker, or try to, as John with the moves gets away and they get the urn. Okay, he doesn't get away, but they still get the urn.
I like that. He actually set up that door well in advance when he realized he was going to be split pushing and just playing a bit riskily in that lane. So fair enough. But we saw walk up, we saw urn take. So this is that really important mid-game inflection. 16 minutes in. Now we're starting to think about a fight that could precipitate a take on mid-boss or some pressure on this right side. Sneaky Golem, though, have been trying to ameliorate that risk by shoving on the right. Finally getting that Guardian down.
That looked pretty easy for Rokane. Is this man super fat right now? 17 seems to be a decent number.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have like the toxic bullets, right? Fleetfoot is also kind of sick because you can just run through the fights while shooting. You don't suffer a movement penalty. Headhunter in the inventory, has Quicksilver reload. Those are like the items that start to make Mirage feel really smooth.
Also for Rokane, you talk about comfort heroes. Rokane and Mirage just go way back.
PB&J.
Things getting a little bit hot and heavy here in the mid.
Yeah. Rocco. At risk of being turned into goop, but there's Fishcake, who still hasn't quite gotten that tanky point. Nox Nostra thrown out here by the Mina. Hido, yeah, has to cut his losses here. Oh my goodness. At least had the other use of that Sanguine Retreat. Very powerful ability. And also the healing right means you're topped up and you can keep fighting to a degree. You want to wait for those reinforcements. I'm hearing the bullet dance go off there for Rocker. Is that going to be enough? Chain Gang looks like it's caught hydration out. Love bites procs and cuts the health in half of the Kelvin. And Goob is trying to find decent coverage with his hyper beam, but honestly, it's overlooked for the most part by melee creeps. Rocker is down. Fishcake is now just returned to the game and can quickly get back. Hydration was basically in a different postcode at that point. Very much out of position. You could, however, say the same of Sire, who was trying to shove in this Walker direction. Got caught out, likely a hook that led to his demise. So Sneaky Golem gets some value for this, just not quite as much, but they'll defend that Walker position for now.
Mitch, I can't understate how big of a hook that was from Goober. I think with Hydration still being down for 20 seconds, especially given his role with Kelvin, if Saya is able to get away cleanly, I think melee creeps, from where they were on the map, they were going to slam mid-boss. So that arguably is a bit of a game-saving hook for Goober, because being down 13k is bad. Being down 13k with the other team having mid-boss is dramatically worse.
Yep.
So a really big hook to even things out, keep Sneaky Golem in the game.
I mean, they are still fighting on that knife edge, right? Need to find those kinds of reprisals to stop melee creeps from, you know, just extending across the map and kind of taking whatever they want. Smoke bomb up here for Rocket. Just wants to back away without being detected, and there's no fight here in mid to be had. Right now, Sneaky Golem are just doing some housekeeping, attending to their neutral camps, as are melee creeps. Melee creeps would like to step a bit further forward, but they're not far enough ahead in souls right now to make these risky forays into Sneaky Golem's territory to steal sinners and camps. So they'll just get what they can, try and maintain as much of a lead as possible.
You know what we need here? We need Goober Cam. If there's going to be a hero for Sneaky Golem, it's going to come from Goober. Goober's going to have to land a hook and open things up. May have line of sight for one here soon, but if you're Sneaky Golem, you want to run everything as your comeback plan through Goober here. And then ideally back it up with Hydration, have AVG get a good leap ult, go from there. But, you know, for me, all begins with the robot.
I want to point out that the Billy now has gotten to the point where, like, you're actually a little scared. Torment Pulse hit the inventory, as well as Spirit Snatch, and, like, there's a decent amount of souls there. So, you know, DMB's ready to play. If I'm a Melee Creeps fan, I'm looking for Sire to mastermind something now at this stage of the game. Ideally with some sort of swap open up. There's going to be a fight here. I don't know if Melee Creeps are ready for it. Open with Hyper Beam. Soften them up a little bit.
They want buffs.
Yeah, not the most convincing. No, buffs are going to come up. Is Rocket dropping on down, trying to fight for it, and he gets nuked instantly. Chain Gang going to be popped. All right, Frozen Shelter, though, is active. Hydration with the antidote, and DMB has to drop down. Play at the bottom of it. Bullet Dance looks like it was active, and now I think DMB's going to be running into more trouble. Yep, it's AVG waiting for him there in that last stand. That is far too much to handle. Now, look at Melee Creeps on the minimap. They're in a bit of an awkward spot. Scout might want to try and slip through his Ava here. Yeah, just play it from the tops of the buildings. And it's going to be a Walker take for Melee Creeps. So get themselves something. Mid-boss is being looked at, though. This is by no means guaranteed. Melee Creeps are down to 5, but they can fight for this.
They're trying to go quickly. They saw Doorman on the right-hand side. They know Doorman can be the biggest playmaker here in middle. John, is he going to be able to get the mid-time?
Calico's coming back.
Too likely.
Okay, concussive combustion not going to be affecting anybody, but there's the rejuves going over to Sneaky Golem, but there's a fight to be had here. Big stuns, biting word, catching on to Cyan now. John in the middle of the fight. It's the Warden sent off to the Baroness. Goober taken down, and all those rejuve credits get chewed through, and there's more where that came from. Ido flattens Rokane. Now, of course, trying to play up on the rope. It's Rocker out of it. Melee Creeps have the team fight advantage, and they managed to get the Calico back in the fight just in time. Devastating result for Sneaky Golem. There'll even be an urn take on the backside of this. All things coming up. Melee Creeps here, and that solo to the tune of 5,300 is going to get gobbled up.
Sneaky Golem may have been first mid-boss, but the opportunity was not as good as it looked. Even with Melee Creeps off to the right-hand side, they're able to rotate over. They get the urn in the aftermath. They get the mid-boss, and Mitch, all the makings now of a new champion here on Deadlock Night Shift. Melee Creeps may have fallen short last week, but they have learned, they have adapted. No bebop, no problem, even when Sneaky Golems are the ones playing it on the other side.
Oh, it's got to feel good. Melee Creeps definitely a sigh of relief as they were able to come back from that unfortunate pickoff of DMB. Billy's a pretty decent target for it. Now, of course, that sole lead means that Ido is continuing to get out of control. ZP 32k. And yeah, we're talking Stamina Mastery, Tank Buster, Radiant Rejuve. We've got the Surge of Power. Everything you could ask for, and Rocker is getting chewed to death by the bats. Nox Nostra rather hitting pretty hard. Thank you, Nacho Bear, for the prime. Yeah, this meter is popping off in a big way. Compare that to something like Hydration, who's only got 15k on him. Last stand. Hey, you're not going to have a chance to make use of this. The luggage cart interrupts AVG, and the Warden is down. This town ain't big enough for the two of them, I guess. Return to Shadows here represents some burst. Rokane dodges it with the Tornado, but as he pops out, Scout will be waiting to drag him to the depths.
That's how you know you're having a bad game as Warden. You just start having plays like that where like, well, everything's going to shit. Last stand. And it absolutely doesn't matter. And things are just going by the wayside as it is now a 40,000 soul lead. Melee Creeps with impunity going to be coming in here, knocking both shrines, getting Patron down. And frankly, if they felt like it, Mitch, they potentially could stay, but I don't think they will.
Doesn't seem likely, does it? They'll take the lead. They'll happily get out. Capacitor here and Headhunter, of course, for League, but he's just too far behind the key carries on Melee Creeps. A Walker take here is going to cost him his life, and he has to know this, I'm sure. In we go. Flame Dash to try and make a hasty escape, but hit with a slowing Hex now means that he is going to be brought down. Still, that is souls for Sneaky Golem to stay relevant, but being without League for 50 seconds is going to hurt.
It's tough, and I mean, it's a trade that I think they still needed to make here. They're able to get the other Walker in turn. I mean, these souls get them a little bit back more to we can fight this territory. Never forget that as far ahead as Melee Creeps have gotten with really smart play, they're still up against a Kelvin on the other side. You still have the comeback potential of a Bebop. The game is nearly out of reach, but you can still envision a few options here for Sneaky Golem, but it is a very, very thin window of which they have to go through.
It's Fishcake lingering a little on this left side, but there's a couple of camps to take. Sinners, if you're feeling particularly frisky, but Fishcake denies the allure of the jukebox music. Instead, is going to try and spend through some of these souls. Again, early on in the game, like we're looking at a different Shiv as sort of the oppressive one that snowballs those mid-game advantages. Still, though, is looking pretty scary and has a lot of nasty bursts between the Spirit Snatch and the Tank Buster, so definitely not something you want to be overlooking at all. At your own peril, perhaps.
Sneaky Golem. Not a team that they've made some comebacks before, but this would be a Buff Enjoyers level comeback. Although it wouldn't be a Abraham's level comeback, where Abraham's came back from 70, but it may be coming down to this.
Okay, here comes the hook. Frozen Shelter going to be thrown in straight away. That would theoretically give Goober a favorable playing field. The DMB has been able to avoid reprisal, and the shelter has to be removed to allow for there to be any pursuit. Sire's picked off, but that's just a paradox. That's just a fire starter. The Inferno here is still in play for Melee Creeps. Can they convert? Tornado coming in, going to knock Scout up. That's really nice connection there by Rokane. And off we go. Ido trying to chase down. It looks like they want that Mirage, but it's been hard to get to grips with him. Rocker's very low, but again, not that big a factor in the fight once those key item cooldowns have been used. Finally, Idorian will have his just desserts, sinks his fangs into the Mirage. And there's more where that came from. Scout, though, picked off. There's still a fight to be had here. Make no mistake. Infernus in the mix now. Concussive Combustion going to be effective, but Ido's able to avoid it. Surge of Power active, but the bomb is stuck to the Mina. And it's going to be tough to catch this Infernus. Goober is down, and Ido, he wants blood. He's absolutely not going to be left behind in this fight. League is eventually extinguished. AVG is very low and got out of the fight, and Rocket finds himself just surrounded.
If you're melee creeps, you have a big advantage. Do you go for the end here? The patron already eating some damage here. This is just the sneaky golem patron getting hit by creeps. But melee creeps, they're playing it a little bit slower here, Mitch. We don't have a mid-boss timer up. It is going to be up soon. And melee creeps may just want to slow this down a little bit and not go for an all-in that could go against it. Because remember, the one way that Sneaky Golem gets back into the game is if melee creeps makes a mistake that gives up mid-boss. If they play to avoid that one key mistake, there's very few avenues for Sneaky Golem to get back into the game.
Yeah, I mean, those doors are starting to close, but this is not an insurmountable lead. We've seen what Sneaky Golem are able to do in these fights. Kelvin is still amazing, even at 19k. It's been earn take, though. No real investment. Boundless Spirit taken by AVG, that of course is going to empower those abilities further. Fish Cake, dangerous hit with a slowing hex. Now there's actually a couple of slowing hexes on Sneaky Golem's itemization. They're really trying to catch these individuals, and there goes Fish Cake, picked up yet again. John and Ido are fed though, and they'll be looking for fights here, but this is going to delay melee creeps trying to close out the game. These constant picks, this suffering, and now Sneaky Golem feels safe enough moving into the jungle. They're going to be able to take some of these sinners away too.
We gotta look at Goober. We need to look at Goober. If Goober can land a pick in the next 40 seconds, you can bring this into mid-boss. It is the best possible chance for Sneaky Golem to get this game back in their hands. If you're melee creeps, you just don't want to give up the hook. And you see Goober going in for the attempt. Gonna get another shot in 5 seconds. You just don't give up the hook. The main thing for melee creeps, don't do it.
Transcendent cooldown here for Ido, so now those items are going to be having their cooldowns reduced as well. She's pretty important, the Mina. She definitely picks up some crucial. God, slowing hexes for everyone is crazy. Kuba has one as well. Yeah, they really want to make sure the subject to the Bebop hook gets caught out. Okay, mid-boss time. This is pretty critical. Lucky shot picked up. It's going to be Sire getting caught out. Divine Barrier. Will there be enough to get him out? Okay, Billy jumps in. Chain Gang active now. The silence is brutal stuff. And AVG's not even in the fight. He's trying to rush and get involved from the base. This is just some attempt at stall here for Sneaky Golem. So melee creeps find Sneaky Golem on the wrong foot without all their players in position. They peel off the mid-boss because that was never really the objective. They're looking for a proper fight here. Fishcake this time has managed to stay alive and starting to build that rage bar. This is far from done, folks. There's going to be a chase, CP.
The chase down is happening here. Ido looking for it. Rocker also weak, rakes to oblivion. And now 4 dead for Sneaky Golem. Melee creeps forget the mid-boss. They're just looking for the end. About to be our new champions here in North America. No Bebop, no problem.
Absolutely handled. Now melee creeps, of course, they still have to knock Patron and get through. Oh, it's already in the pit. Never mind. No, it is a game done and dusted. You called it, ZP. 1,000 big ones, thanks to our friends at Intel, safely going into the breast pocket of our melee creeps, suiting up for success in this night shift edition.
The cat suit wonders. Get it done again. You can't take John out of the game regardless of how many heroes you steal. They are gonna beat you anyway. And when you take a look at the numbers, was it Ido who deserves MVP honors? Did Saya do enough? Was it Fishcake on the Shiv? Let's take a look at some of the best moments here from our 3-game final. Week 12. Living up to the hype in EU and NA. Was NA even better, ZP, than what we saw from EU tonight?
I mean, that's a tough call. EU had some incredible games, also went the distance. I mean, I think both regions put on a masterclass here tonight, but I did really like the NA story just because of how it was told in the draft, even beyond the actual gameplay. And the fact that melee creeps were able to come back around and have a good strategy, even with John's entire hero pool just being targeted by Sneaky Golem. I mean, they took it out one by one. They had a list, and the list was all John. And John says, hey, you didn't take out my doorman.
Dude, I mean, we are like, how far down the list of John's hero pool are we getting? I was kind of hoping we'd see this because Doorman was so instrumental in the EU games in terms of like just the the utility and macro avenues that opened up. But also, the gun build is still good. And now you can also just abuse the like spirit scaling with like the small items in lane. I guess with the call bell, that was beyond nasty. That was a really hard lane, I think, for Sneaky Golem to fight out of. And like, yeah, the whole Warden situation is interesting, right? We know AVG is really competent on that hero, but this is another Kelvin loss game. I just kind of want to point that out. And that was a Kelvin and Infernus lane for Hydration in League, one that you feel like does okay. Melee creeps though, man, once again, Ido is just rolling them, picking up Mina, and just going absolutely hog wild. Sick game. Honestly, I thought DMB and Fishcake would have to have more impact, have to be more front and center, but they didn't get a lot of souls and didn't have to in the end. So, all right.
Paper beats rock and Shiv beats Kelvin. That's what I learned tonight. ZP, who was your MVP, though, for the North Americans?
Ooh, MVP. Honestly, I got to go for John. I think when your entire hero pool gets annihilated and you still put on a masterclass on the hero that people weren't even considering you to play because the other team clearly thought it didn't exist by their draft, you get MVP for that alone. And John still looked good, especially in the final map.
Are you agreeing with the John pick? Do you like the Mina? What did you like in this series, Uber?
I think like for someone who is able to take the advantages provided by the team and run with it, like Ido for me kind of gets the honors. John also had to play that slightly awkward game, early on of the Geist, and it just wasn't a great look for the whole team. So if think about someone who was kind of nuts, in the important games and was the one that actually had the burden of the carry on his shoulders. For me, it's Ido. Also, the movement was really nice. It's like visual ASMR.
The Creeps get it done in a reverse sweep. They drop game one. They win back-to-back, and we see a number of different heroes throughout this series. Your highlights are coming up in just a moment here from your MVP. ZP, though, what did you learn in the last 2 weeks? Since the Trolli 10K, has NA gotten better?
I think so. I mean, Sneaky Golem and Melee Creeps, these are teams where they've both gone through many iterations of roster changes, and Melee Creeps just went through their most recent iteration where Lord NM is out, Ido is in, and what you get in Ido is that you get a player who is easily top tier in movement, probably some of the best movement, top 3 in the entire game, and you get someone that is locked down on heroes like Mina or Pocket when he's a little bit more in practice on it, and the Mina clearly gave them a big jump in their early to mid game that they needed to keep things even, and this last match looked incredible, and is why, when it comes down to it, we're back and forth on Ido and John, but we had more footage on Ido, and it's still hard to deny his impact for player of the match.
Yeah, I think he also hard carried that game 3 despite John playing an off character. Ido was in all of the highlights, and this is when you need to pop off. Game 3 is when the money is decided. Is Mina the new hotness? Is she going to be the go-to of the 6 most recent characters dropped in Deadlock, Uber?
I think that's a safe bet. I just think she does really well, obviously, and has these burst windows, right, that are just kind of cracked. I mean, Love Bites is designed to do that, right? Eventually, like, just take a chunk of their health. You build items like Tank Buster, and then also you have like healing on Rake. She can be squishy, and you need souls to be relevant, right? That burst has to mean something. But boy, if you just do it the Ido way, and you'll never be disappointed. Definitely one of the most impactful additions to Deadlock in recent times.
Give her a Kelvin, she'll have an even better time. So the Kelvin winning for Melee Creeps in game 2, the Kelvin falling for Sneaky Golems in game 3, the Shiv, the decider for Fishcake and Ido on the Mina, dropping the most numbers in the lobby. It was a fantastic night with some fantastic players, and we will be celebrating with another $1,000 check written out to the Melee Creeps North America. We had a number of teams sign up for that open qualifier. There's clearly 2 at the top right now. Are the Melee Creeps officially the best, ZP? Do you expect it to continue to switch up?
I think for this week, off the recent change, you can't say anything else. Melee Creeps are the best North American team. We do know how quickly that can change. But for this week, Melee Creeps, enjoy it. You earned it. You came back after a rough last week, and Mitch, we still got you on the final screen.
Yeah, bro. Honestly, look at that delt on the left side. I just want to point out the head separation between my medial and anterior delts. Yeah, that's all you guys need to know. You know what I'm saying?
I was just looking at the blinds and that chain. I was like, is this guy 19 about to go to a college party? I'd hang out with him.
Okay, I live in a share house with 2 other blokes. I don't know what you want me to tell you, bro.
All right, let's get the beer pong rolling. I'll be player number 4. All right, ladies and gentlemen, those are your numbers. Those are the builds. Take a screenshot. Look it up on your own time. It's been an 8-hour show, and I got to get to the family, so let's wrap this baby up. We've got our interview live right now. Bring them on up from the Melee Creeps. It's your champion. How we feeling, John?
Feeling pretty hurt. These guys just want to bully me for some reason, man.
Yeah, bro, what is going on? We're targeting everything you play.
I don't know.
That's crazy. No, that's racist, bro.
It is.
Unreal.
Every single game, I was like target banned in some way. Even the Kawaii crew was doing it.
That is wild, dude. Tell us about the gun doorman. It feels like even though there's been some nerfs, he's still hella viable, right?
Yeah, I mean, only his headshot damage got touched, so it's like if you just hit buy shots, it's the same like. Feeling,
that sounds like my kind of hero, brother.
It's just slightly worse, like, but it's the same broken hero. Like the gun is just way too like overstated.
Yeah.
Zeeps.
Yeah, so my question here, John, is that, okay, so they pick Warden because they want to go after your hero pool, but tell the truth now. Were you guys going to pick Warden given that he's not that strong at the moment if they didn't pick it against you? Did you feel forced in a corner to pick Warden, or were you just like, whoa, I was going to pick that anyways?
I mean, watching the bottom 3, I already knew that they were going to, like, go Mirage Warden. Like, there was just something about it because, like, this is like their whole game plan is just to target me, and I low-key am like a detriment to the team with my hero pool, so I've just been practicing like these weird heroes like recently.
And Holiday
so
looking kind of clean,
not
though,
as
bro.
bad.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
I'm not like Saya on the Holiday, but it's a work in progress, man. You know.
Nice.
It's
John,
hard to
when
beat
you
the
say
king.
you feel like you're a detriment to your team and the hero pool, what is that hero pool like right now? Because they banned out, or they went after what, 5 of your guys? So how deep do you need to be to
they went after
in
like
NA?
every single hero that I've been playing for a while.
They even grabbed Mirage, man. Like, you haven't played Mirage in an official game in a while. They're just like, I was like, oh god, like they really did the John deep lore.
And it just so happened that like the Warden is just hard countered by Mirage, and he went Spirit, which is just like giga value on my ults, and it's just like I don't know. It was like they just like walked themselves into a trap, and they just didn't know about Doorman for some reason. Even though I've been playing it for like I was playing Doorman before it got nerfed for like most of my games, and then I went to Holiday.
Yeah.
John, it's Halloween. Everyone is celebrating this weekend. If you were to dress up as a character, can't be Abrams, who would it be?
Bebop.
Bebop, easy answer. Would you build it out of cardboard? How are we putting this together? You got like maybe $50 to spend.
I'm gonna learn how to weld, and I'm gonna build like a giant.
Bro's an engineer, bro. Hey, bro's he's got it sorted. Don't you worry. My goat knows ball.
We are going to send you some money for scrap metal. Congratulations on your win tonight. Best of luck building your Bebop, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Take it easy, y'all.
That is John, the excellent ZP. He's always so fun to watch. Tonight might have been his toughest challenge yet, though.
Yeah, and he rose to the challenge and completed it with flying colors. Also, in terms of challenges, this is kind of an audible on the way, but, you know, realistically, there's a good reason for it beyond us not booking a guest tonight. We're going to try and get an EU special guest for the next graveyard shift, and we're going to be doing it on Friday is where we're going, because getting an EU guest immediately after is a little bit rough, and we haven't had an EU guest in a while, so I don't know who it'll be, but it'll be someone that can give us some insight.
We're getting into the drama
on the EU side. Yeah, exactly. There's been so many change-ups, so realistically, here's a spoiler, I'm going to try and get Hoot. I'm going to chase down Hoot and go, Hoot, give us the details, and you'll be able to find all of it on the graveyard shift on Friday.
I want to give a big shout out to everyone behind the scenes, and more importantly, thank you to Intel, who has been supporting the competitive Deadlock community for the last 10 weeks. That is 20% of your year, and they have been here every step of the way. We're getting bigger every single show, so thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to all of the new members over on YouTube. The TikTok keeps growing, and ZP is writing some new lore for next week. ZP, any previews of what the Lore Lords will be bringing to the table?
Fiction.
for me, I'm going into the stuff that is immediately obvious on some of the like character interactions. Like you get a lot of lore in the character interactions, not the least of which is that every time I do Holiday and I'm with Infernus, Infernus keeps hitting on my character. So clearly there's a little bit of a romance brewing there. Who knows what goes on if you dig deep into the voice line. So
Infernus, Holiday, pregnant Viper fan, and Viper, wherever you're into, whatever you're into, we support it here on the Night Shift. We'll see you next week.
We have no choice.
Thanks for watching.